The Obsidian Mind, hardened against adversity. Life is not about waiting for the storms to pass. It is about learning to stand firm, to plant your feet in the wind and the rain, and to endure. This book is your guide to building that unshakable strength from within. We will not be dealing with complex theories or abstract ideas. Instead, we will explore how to forge a mindset that is not broken by the challenges life throws at you, but is instead hardened and sharpened by them, much like the volcanic glass, obsidian. This is a journey to discover the power you already hold. Before we begin our journey together, I have a question for you, and I would love for you to share your answer in the comments below. Think for a moment about a time you faced a challenge, big or small, and you overcame it. What is one thing you learned about yourself during that time? There is no right or wrong answer, just your own powerful experience. I look forward to reading what you have to share. Chapter 1. The Unavoidable Storm. Acknowledging Adversity. Let's start with a truth that is as fundamental as the air we breathe. Life is filled with adversity. There is no escaping it. No amount of money, no amount of success, no amount of careful planning can build a wall high enough to keep out the storms of life. These storms can be small squalls, like a frustrating day at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or a project that doesn't go as planned. They can also be raging hurricanes, like the loss of a job, the end of a relationship, a serious illness, or the grief that comes with losing someone you care about. For centuries, we have been told stories and sold ideas that suggest happiness is a permanent destination, a peaceful shore where the sun always shines. This is a beautiful thought, but it is a fantasy. The pursuit of a life free from problems is not only impossible, it is also a recipe for profound disappointment. The real path to a strong and fulfilling life is not in avoiding the storms, but in building a stronger ship. It is about learning to be a better captain, one who can navigate the turbulent waters with skill, courage, and resilience. This chapter is the first step in that process. It is not about fighting the storm, nor is it about pretending the waves aren't crashing over the deck. It is simply about looking out at the vast, churning ocean of reality and saying, "I see you. I acknowledge that you are here." This act of acknowledgement is the most crucial and often the most difficult first step. Why is it so hard? Because our brains are wired for comfort and survival. For thousands of years, the human brain developed a very effective system for dealing with immediate physical threats. Imagine an early human ancestor walking through the grasslands. Suddenly, they hear a rustle in the tall grass. A lion leaps out. Instantly, their body is flooded with hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Their heart pounds. Their breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and blood is diverted to their muscles. This is the famous fight or flight response. It is a brilliant survival mechanism. It prepares the body to either fight the threat or run away from it as fast as possible. There is no time for deep thought or careful consideration. There is only reaction. Survive now, ask questions later. This ancient wiring is still very much a part of us today. The problem is that the lions we face in the modern world are rarely so simple. Our modern lions are pink slips on our desks. They are letters from the bank. They are difficult conversations we need to have. They are the feeling of loneliness in a crowded room. They are the quiet dread of a medical diagnosis. Our bodies still react with that same ancient primal fear. Our hearts still pound, and that same stress hormone, cortisol, floods our system. But we cannot fight our debt with our fists, and we cannot run away from grief. So what do? We often turn to modern, psychological versions of fight or flight. One of the most common is denial. Denial is the mind's way of running away. It is putting our head in the sand, hoping that if we do not look at the problem, it will simply cease to exist. Have you ever had a warning light flash on your car's dashboard and just ignored it? Maybe you turned up the radio a little louder to drown out the little chime that came with it. You told yourself it was probably just a faulty sensor, or that you would deal with it next week or the week after. You ran away from the problem. But the problem, the actual mechanical issue with the car, did not go away. In fact, by being ignored, it likely got worse. A minor repair becomes a major breakdown. This is precisely what happens with the adversities in our lives. We ignore the growing distance in our relationship, telling ourselves it is just a phase. We avoid looking at our mounting credit card bills, pretending they are not real. We dismiss the nagging feeling that we are unhappy in our career, distracting ourselves with television or social media. Denial feels safe in the short term. It provides a temporary shield from the pain, fear, or discomfort of the situation. But it is a shield made of glass. It is fragile, and eventually, reality will shatter it. The longer we live in denial, the more power we give to the problem. It grows in the shadows, unaddressed and unchecked. The consequences become more severe. The difficult conversation becomes a painful breakup. The manageable debt becomes a financial crisis. The quiet unhappiness becomes a deep-seated depression. The first and most powerful step you can take to dismantle the destructive power of denial is to practice what we will call radical acknowledgement. This does not mean you have to like the situation. It does not mean you have to approve of it or be happy about it. It simply means you have to stop pretending it is not there. It means turning down the radio, looking at the flashing warning light, and saying, "Okay, something is wrong." Radical acknowledgement is about facing the cold, hard, unvarnished facts of your situation. Let's talk about how to do this in a practical way. The first tool is the naming exercise. I want you to find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed for 10 minutes. Take a piece of paper and a pen. At the top of the paper, I want you to write down the adversity you are currently facing. But here is the crucial part. You must write it in the most neutral, factual, and unemotional language possible. Strip away the blame, the shame, the fear, and the catastrophic predictions. For example, instead of writing, "My life is over because my boss, who is a complete jerk, fired me for no reason, and now I will be homeless," you would write, "My employment at my previous job has ended." Instead of, "I am a complete failure because my business went under and I have let everyone down," you would write, "The business I started is no longer operating." Instead of, "I will be alone forever because my partner left me," you would write, "My romantic relationship has ended." Do you see the difference? The first set of statements are stories we tell ourselves. They are filled with judgments and assumptions about the future. The second set of statements are facts. They are the reality of the situation. This exercise is not about minimizing your pain. Your feelings are completely valid. The pain, the anger, the fear are real. The point of this exercise is to separate the facts from the painful story you are telling yourself about the facts. The story is where we get stuck. The facts are where we can begin to take action. The story is a cage. The facts are a locked door for which we can find a key. Another common reaction to adversity, the psychological equivalent of fight, is blame and anger. This is when we lash out. We blame our boss, our partner, our parents, the government, the economy, or just plain bad luck. Anger can feel incredibly powerful in the moment. It feels proactive. It feels like we are doing something. When we point a finger at someone or something else, it momentarily relieves us of the heavy weight of responsibility and pain. If it is someone else's fault, then we are just an innocent victim of circumstance. This can be a comforting thought, but it is also one of the most disempowering mindsets you can adopt. When you blame, you are essentially handing over the keys to your life to the very person or situation you are angry with. You are saying, "You have control over my happiness, my peace of mind, and my future." You are tethering your emotional state to something completely outside of your control. Think about it. You cannot control your ex-partner's actions. You cannot control your former boss's decisions. You cannot control the global economy. As long as you are waiting for them to change, or for them to apologize, or for the world to become fair, you are a prisoner. You are waiting for the jailer to decide to let you out, but you are the one holding the key the entire time. Moving from blame to responsibility is a monumental shift. Please understand, responsibility is not the same as fault. Being fired might have been your boss's decision, which was out of your control. That might be his fault, but your response to being fired, that is your responsibility. The end of a relationship involves two people, and perhaps the other person bears the majority of the fault for the breakup. But how you choose to heal, how you choose to move forward, and what you learn from the experience, that is 100% your responsibility. Taking responsibility means reclaiming your power. It is the moment you stop saying, "Look at what they did to me," and start asking, "What will I do now?" This is where your freedom lies. It is in the space between what happens to you and how you respond. An actionable step to shift from blame to responsibility is to perform a responsibility audit. Take that same piece of paper from the naming exercise, with the factual statement of your adversity at the top. Below it, draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write the heading, "Outside my control." On the right side, write, "Within my control." Now, start listing everything related to the situation. If your business is no longer operating, on the left side you might write, "The economic downturn, a new competitor opening up, a global pandemic that disrupted supply chains." On the right side, you might write, "How I spend my time each day, my willingness to learn from my mistakes, the effort I put into finding a new job or starting a new project, my attitude, my health, who I asked for help." Be brutally honest with this list. You will likely find that the list of things outside your control is long, but the things within your control are the ones that truly matter. They are the levers you can actually pull to change your situation. Blame focuses all your energy on the left side of the page, the side you can do absolutely nothing about. It is like screaming at the rain to stop. It is a complete waste of your precious energy. Responsibility, on the other hand, directs all of your focus and energy to the right side of the page. It empowers you to act. You cannot stop the rain, but you can grab an umbrella. You can build a shelter. You can learn to dance in it. The storm is not your fault, but how you navigate it is your responsibility. This shift is the beginning of forging an Obsidian Mind. Finally, there is a third reaction that combines the passivity of denial with the disempowerment of blame. This is the victim mindset. The victim mindset is a pervasive belief that life happens to you, not for you or by you. It is a narrative where you are always the main character in a sad story, powerless against the villains and the cruel twists of fate. The language of a victim is filled with phrases like, "I can't," "It's impossible," "Why does this always happen to me?" and "I have no choice." This mindset is seductive because it absolves you of all responsibility. Nothing is your fault, and you are therefore entitled to sympathy and pity from others. It can even become a core part of your identity. People may begin to know you as the person who always has bad luck, the one who is always struggling. While this may garner you some attention, it is a profoundly weak position to live from. It keeps you stuck, passively waiting for a rescuer to come and save you from your life. But the truth is, no one is coming. The only person who can save you is you. Shedding the victim mindset requires a conscious change in your language and your thoughts. Language is not just a reflection of our reality, it actively creates it. The words you use shape your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your actions. To begin changing this, you must become a detective of your own thoughts and words. For 1 week, I want you to pay close attention to the way you speak about yourself and your challenges. You can even keep a small notebook for this. Every time you catch yourself saying or thinking a phrase that sounds like it is from the victim's script, write it down. Phrases like, "I have to go to work," "I can't believe this happened to me again," or "I have no choice in the matter." At the end of each day, look at these phrases. Now I want you to consciously rephrase them in the language of empowerment and choice. "I have to go to work" becomes, "I choose to go to work because I value providing for my family." Or, "I choose to go to work because it is a step towards my long-term career goals." Suddenly, the act is no longer a burden forced upon you. It is a conscious choice you are making. "I can't believe this happened to me again" becomes, "This is a recurring pattern." What can I learn from this situation to ensure it does not happen a third time? This shifts you from being a passive recipient of bad luck to an active student of life. And the most debilitating phrase of all, "I have no choice," can almost always be transformed into, "There are several options here, and some of them are difficult, but I am choosing the one that aligns best with my values right now." This simple, conscious act of reframing your language begins to rewire your brain. It moves you out of the passenger seat of your life and puts you firmly behind the wheel. These three reactions, denial, blame, and victimhood, are the default settings for many of us when adversity strikes. They are the well-worn paths of least resistance that our minds tend to follow. But these paths do not lead to strength or resilience. They lead to stagnation, bitterness, and despair. Acknowledging adversity is about consciously choosing a different path. It is the path of courage. It is the path that begins with looking the problem squarely in the eye. It requires you to be a scientist of your own life, gathering the objective data before you form a hypothesis. A good scientist does not get angry at the data if it does not match their expectations. They simply observe it, record it, and then decide what to do next, based on the reality of the situation. This is the mindset you must cultivate. The facts of your adversity are simply your data. Your job is not to judge the data, but to use it. Let us explore this idea of acknowledgement a little deeper, moving from the purely mental exercise to the physical. Our bodies and minds are not separate entities. They are intricately connected. When you experience a psychological shock or a prolonged period of stress, your body keeps the score. You might feel a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a heaviness in your shoulders, or a constant low-grade headache. These are not just random physical sensations. They are the physical manifestation of your unacknowledged struggle. Your body is trying to get your attention. It is flashing its own warning lights. Just as we ignore the warning lights on our car's dashboard, we often try to ignore or numb these physical signals. We take a painkiller for the headache. We drink an extra cup of coffee to push through the fatigue. We distract ourselves with food or entertainment to avoid feeling that knot in our stomach. We are, in essence, telling our bodies to be quiet, but the body will not be silenced. If its whispers are ignored, it will eventually start to scream, often in the form of chronic illness, burnout, or anxiety disorders. A powerful practice for true deep acknowledgement is the physical check-in. This is a simple mindfulness exercise you can do anywhere, anytime. Find a comfortable place to sit or lie down. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. Start by taking 3 deep, slow breaths. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. As you breathe, bring to mind the adversity you are facing. Do not dwell on the story of it. Just hold the factual reality of it in your mind. Now begin to scan your body, starting with your toes. Just bring your awareness to your feet. Do you feel any tension, any coldness or warmth, any numbness? There is no need to change anything or fix anything. Just notice. Slowly, move your awareness up your body, to your ankles, your calves, your knees. Continue this slow scan all the way up through your legs, your torso, your arms, your neck, and finally, your face and head. Where in your body are you feeling the physical sensation of this adversity? Is it a tightness in your jaw, a hollowness in your chest, a churning in your gut? When you find a sensation, do not run from it. Do your best to stay with it. Breathe into it. Just observe it with a sense of gentle curiosity. What does it feel like? Is it sharp or dull? Is it moving or still? Is it heavy or light? By doing this, you are accomplishing 2 very important things. First, you are validating your own experience on a profound level. You are telling yourself, yes, this is real, and this is how it is affecting me. This act of non-judgmental observation can be incredibly healing. It stops the internal war, where one part of you is trying to push the pain away, while another part is screaming in agony. Instead, you become a neutral observer, a compassionate witness to your own struggle. Second, you are discharging the pent-up energy of the stress response. When you allow yourself to fully feel a physical sensation without resisting it, it often begins to change. The tightness may soften, the knot may loosen. By acknowledging the physical reality of your emotional pain, you allow it to move through you instead of getting stuck inside you. This is a crucial skill for building resilience. It is like being a flexible reed in the wind instead of a rigid oak tree. The oak tree stands tall and resists the storm with all its might, and in a powerful enough gust it can be snapped in two. The reed, however, bends with the wind. It acknowledges the force of the storm and yields to it without breaking, and when the wind subsides, it stands tall once again. Let's tie this all together with a story. Consider the well-known tale of J.K. Rowling. Before she became one of the most successful authors in modern history, she was facing immense adversity. By her own admission, she was, in her words, the biggest failure I knew. Within a very short period of time, her marriage had ended, she was jobless, and she was a single parent living in near poverty. This was her unavoidable storm. She could have easily succumbed to denial, pretending her situation was not so dire. She could have fallen into blame, raging at her ex-husband, or the unfairness of the world. She could have adopted the victim mindset, believing her life was over and that she was destined to struggle forever. And no doubt, she felt the powerful pull of all these reactions. She has spoken of battling depression during this time, but the magic, the true alchemy of her story, began with acknowledgement. She had to look at the cold, hard facts of her life. She was a single mother. She was unemployed. She was struggling to make ends meet. She did not sugarcoat it. She did not pretend it was okay. She radically acknowledged the reality of her failure. But in that acknowledgement, she found a strange kind of freedom. She said that hitting rock bottom became the solid foundation on which she rebuilt her life. By acknowledging her failure, she was liberated from the fear of it. She had nothing left to lose. And so, she directed all of her energy not towards the things she could not control, like her past or her financial situation, but towards the one thing she could control, the story that was burning inside her. She focused on the right side of her responsibility audit. She chose to write. She poured her pain, her fears, and her hopes into the creation of a world that would captivate millions. Her story is a testament to the power of this first step. Her success was not built on avoiding adversity, but by facing it, acknowledging it, and using its immense pressure to forge something beautiful and strong. You do not need to write a best-selling novel to apply this principle. You simply need to be willing to look at your own rock bottom, whatever it may be, and see it not as a grave, but as a foundation. This chapter is the bedrock of everything that will follow. You cannot build a strong house on a shaky or non-existent foundation. Any attempt to jump ahead to positive thinking, or just taking action, without first completing this crucial step of acknowledgement, is like trying to build a roof before you have put up the walls. It is a recipe for collapse. You will find yourself fighting a reality you refuse to accept, and you will exhaust yourself in the process. The peace and strength you are seeking do not come from a life without problems. They come from the quiet confidence that you can handle the problems that arise. That confidence begins here, today, with the simple but profound act of looking your current reality in the eye and refusing to blink. It is about being honest with yourself. This honesty can be painful, yes, but it is a clean pain. It is the pain of setting a broken bone so that it can heal properly. It is sharp, but it is purposeful. The alternative, the chronic ache of denial and blame, is a dull, pointless pain that will follow you for years if you let it. So, your task, your first mission in forging your Obsidian Mind, is to practice this art of acknowledgement. Use the tools we have discussed. Write down the facts of your situation using the naming exercise. Separate what you can control from what you cannot with the responsibility audit. Become a detective of your own language, shifting from victimhood to ownership. and check in with your body, allowing yourself to feel the physical sensations of your struggle without judgment. Do not expect to be perfect at this overnight. It is a practice, a muscle that you must build over time. There will be days when you slip back into old patterns of denial or blame. That is okay. That is part of the process. The goal is not perfection, but progress. Each time you catch yourself and gently guide your mind back to the reality of the present moment, you are doing a repetition. You are making that muscle a little bit stronger. This is the unglamorous, foundational work of building resilience. It is not about grand gestures or overnight transformations. It is about the quiet, consistent courage to face the truth. It is about learning to be with what is, right here, right now. Once you master this, you will have built the solid ground upon which you can stand to face any storm that comes your way. Chapter 2. The Obsidian Forge. Understanding your inner strength. In the heart of the earth, under unimaginable pressure and searing heat, rock melts and transforms. When this molten material erupts from a volcano and cools with incredible speed, it does not have time to form crystals. It solidifies into a glass, a substance both beautiful and powerful. This is obsidian. It is not born in calm, peaceful conditions. It is forged in chaos, in the violent crucible of the earth's power. It is hard, so hard that our earliest ancestors prized it for tools and weapons. Its edges can be sharpened to a molecular thinness, making it one of the sharpest materials known to man, even sharper than a steel scalpel. This is the metaphor for the mind we are working to build. An obsidian mind is not one that has never been tested. It is not a mind that has lived a sheltered life, free from pressure and heat. Quite the opposite. It is a mind that has been through the volcanic eruptions of life, that has faced the searing heat of adversity, and has cooled and solidified into something strong, sharp, and clear. The strength you are seeking is not something you need to go out and find. It is not a treasure buried on a distant island. The raw materials are already inside you. You have already been through the forge. This chapter is about helping you recognize the powerful material you are already made of. It is a journey into your own personal history, not to dwell on past pain, but to excavate your hidden reserves of strength. We live in a culture that often teaches us to focus on our weaknesses. From a very young age, we are graded, ranked, and compared. The red pen on a school paper highlights the mistakes, not the correct answers. Performance reviews at work often zero in on areas for improvement. Social media presents us with a constant stream of curated perfection, lives that seem effortlessly happy and successful, which can make our own struggles feel like personal failings. We become experts in our own perceived flaws. We can list them off with depressing accuracy. I am not disciplined enough. I am too sensitive. I am not smart enough. I am a procrastinator. This internal narrative of deficiency becomes a constant hum in the background of our lives. This is not entirely our fault. Our brains are naturally wired with what psychologists call a negativity bias. This is an evolutionary hangover from our ancestors' time. For them, failing to notice a beautiful flower was not a life-threatening mistake, but failing to notice a lion in the grass was a fatal error. Therefore, the brain developed a heightened sensitivity to threats, dangers, and negative information. It is like having Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. An insult can stick with us for days, while a compliment might be forgotten in minutes. This ancient survival mechanism in our modern world often translates into a relentless inner critic. It constantly scans for what is wrong, what is missing, and what could go wrong. This is why, when adversity strikes, our first thought is often, "I can't handle this." We believe this thought because it is loud, and it is familiar. It is backed by a lifetime of focusing on our mistakes, and a brain that is hardwired to pay attention to threats. But this thought, as powerful as it feels, is a lie. It is a story based on incomplete evidence. You have survived 100% of your worst days. You are here, right now, reading these words. That is not an accident. That is a testament to a resilience you have already demonstrated time and time again. The problem is that we rarely stop to catalogue our successes, especially our successes in overcoming hardship. We just feel relieved that the ordeal is over, and we quickly move on, leaving the memory of the struggle and the strength we used to overcome it buried in the past. We remember the pain of the storm, but we forget that we were the captain who steered the ship through it. We are about to change that. We are going to conduct a personal archaeological dig into your past. We are going to unearth the evidence of your own strength piece by piece, until the weight of that evidence is so overwhelming that the old story of "I am not strong enough" crumbles under its own absurdity. The central tool for this process is the Resilience Archive. This is not a quick exercise. I want you to dedicate serious time to this. Get a notebook and a pen, a new document on your computer, whatever works for you. This will become your personal testament of strength. We are going to build it in 3 stages: excavation, skill identification, and the new narrative. Let's begin with stage 1. Excavation. Your mission is to create a list of every single challenge, obstacle, and adversity you can remember overcoming in your life. The key here is to not just focus on the big, traumatic events. Those are important, of course, but the small, everyday victories are just as crucial. They are the building blocks of resilience. We often dismiss them as insignificant, but they are the reps and sets in the gym of life that build our mental muscle. I want you to divide your life into phases to help jog your memory. Let's start with your childhood, from your earliest memories up to age 12. What were the challenges? Perhaps it was learning to ride a bicycle. Do you remember the frustration, the scraped knees, the feeling of imbalance and the fear of falling? And do you remember the moment it finally clicked? That moment was not magic. It was the result of perseverance, of courage to get back on after falling, of the ability to learn and adapt. List it down. Maybe you had to move to a new school and walk into a classroom full of strangers. Remember the anxiety in the pit of your stomach, the loneliness of that first lunch break. You navigated that. You made a friend. That took social courage. It took adaptability. List it down. Perhaps you struggled with a particular subject in school, like math or reading. Remember the hours of frustration, feeling like your brain just was not built for it. But you passed the class. Maybe you got a tutor, or you spent extra hours studying. That was discipline. That was resourcefulness. List it down. Do not censor yourself. Nothing is too small or too silly. Did you stand up to a bully? Did you perform in a school play despite being terrified of the stage? Did you learn to swim even though you were scared of the water? Each of these is a data point of your strength. Now, let's move to your teenage years, from age 13 to 19. This is often a tumultuous time. What were your storms? The end of your first significant romantic relationship. Remember the heartbreak? It might have felt like the end of the world, but it was not. You healed. You learned something about yourself and about relationships. That is a profound form of resilience. Did you fail your first driving test? The embarrassment, the feeling of letting your parents down, but you practiced more and you passed. That is perseverance. Did you have a part-time job that you hated, dealing with a difficult boss or rude customers? You learned to manage difficult personalities. You developed patience. You showed up for your shift even when you did not want to. That is responsibility and grit. Think about the academic pressure, the applications to college or trade school, the uncertainty about your future. You navigated all of it. You made decisions with incomplete information. You took risks. Every single one of these experiences is a piece of evidence. Continue this process through your adult life. Think about your 20s. Moving out of your parents' home for the first time, learning to budget your money, pay bills, and cook for yourself. That is independence. That is learning new skills under pressure. Think about your first real job. The feeling of imposter syndrome, the fear that you were not qualified and would be found out at any moment. You learned the ropes. You became competent. You contributed to a team. That is adaptability and a willingness to learn. Think about navigating difficult roommates, searching for an apartment in a competitive market, fixing a leaky faucet by watching online videos. These are not trivial things. They are life. And handling them successfully requires a whole suite of skills. Think about health scares, financial worries, the challenges of long-term relationships, the complexities of raising children if you have them, the grief of losing a grandparent or a pet. Go through your life decade by decade. Fill pages of your notebook with these experiences. Take your time with this. Spend a few days on it if you need to. The goal is to create a list so long and so detailed that it becomes undeniable. This is your archive of survival. This is the raw data of your strength. Once your excavation list is as complete as you can make it for now, we move to stage 2, skill identification. This is where we transform the raw data into meaning. Go back to the very first item on your list. Let's say it is learning to ride a bike. Now, beside it, I want you to list the specific character traits and skills you demonstrated during that process. Do not just write, "I learned." Dig deeper. You demonstrated perseverance by getting back on the bike after you fell. You showed courage by facing your fear of getting hurt. You used problem-solving skills to figure out how to balance. You showed discipline by practicing over and over. You demonstrated the ability to take instruction from a parent or older sibling. Look at that. A simple childhood memory reveals at least 5 powerful character strengths. Now, do this for every single item on your list. Let's take another example. Survived my first heartbreak. What skills did that require? Emotional endurance to sit with the pain. Self-compassion to care for yourself when you were feeling low. The ability to lean on friends for support, which is a form of social intelligence and courage. The capacity for introspection to understand what happened. The eventual ability to forgive and move on, which is a sign of immense emotional maturity. Again, a painful experience, when examined through this lens, becomes a story of your strength. Go through your entire resilience archive. Beside each event, list the strengths you used. To help you, here is a partial list of words, a strength lexicon, to get you started. Perseverance, courage, creativity, patience, discipline, empathy, honesty, integrity, leadership, humility, forgiveness, hope, gratitude, curiosity, self-control, adaptability, resourcefulness, communication, problem-solving, emotional intelligence, grit, determination, focus, compassion, resilience. You will be amazed at what you find. You will see patterns emerge. You may realize that you have relied on your creativity to get you out of tight spots your entire life. Or you may discover a quiet, deep well of patience that has seen you through countless challenges. This is not about puffing up your ego. This is about being a good scientist. It is about looking at the data of your life and drawing an accurate conclusion. The conclusion will be this: you are a person who possesses a vast and diverse toolkit of skills for handling adversity. You have been using this toolkit your entire life. You are a seasoned veteran in the art of living. Now we arrive at stage 3, the new narrative. All the stories we tell ourselves, especially the negative ones, feel true because we have repeated them so often. We have to consciously write and repeat a new story, a true story, that is based on the mountain of evidence you have just collected. Look over your resilience archive and your identified skills. Now, I want you to write a new description of yourself. I want you to write a paragraph, or even a full page, that begins with the words, "I am a person who." Use the evidence you have gathered. For example, you might write, "I am a person who has demonstrated immense perseverance. When I struggled to learn to read, I put in extra hours and succeeded. When my first business idea failed, I learned from my mistakes and started a second one. I am a person who is courageous. I moved to a new city where I knew no one to start my career. I have had difficult but necessary conversations in my relationships. I am a person who is adaptable and resourceful. I have learned to fix things in my home, navigate unfamiliar situations, and take on new roles at work that stretched my abilities. I am not defined by the challenges I have faced, but by the strengths I have used to meet them. This new narrative is not an affirmation that you are just repeating into a mirror, hoping it will one day be true. It is a statement of fact. It is a conclusion drawn from a thorough and honest investigation of your life's history. I want you to read this new narrative every single morning for the next 30 days. Read it out loud. Let the words sink in. You are actively rewiring your brain. You are carving a new neural pathway, a new default story about who you are. When a new storm hits, and that old familiar voice of, "I can't handle this," begins to whisper, you will now have a new, more powerful voice to answer it. This new voice will be grounded in the unshakable evidence of your own history. It will say, "Actually, I can. I have a long and proven track record of handling difficult things. I have perseverance. I have courage. I have resourcefulness. I will figure this out, just like I have figured out everything else before." This is the sound of an obsidian mind beginning to recognize its own nature. Let's add another layer of scientific fact to this. Our experiences physically change our brains. This is a concept known as neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a fixed, static organ. It is more like a dynamic, living map of pathways that are constantly being reinforced or pruned based on your thoughts, actions, and experiences. When you repeatedly think a thought like, "I am a failure," you are strengthening the neural pathway for that thought. It becomes easier and more automatic for your brain to go down that path. It becomes a superhighway of self-criticism. Your resilience archive and new narrative are a form of conscious neuroplasticity. You are intentionally building a new superhighway. Every time you recall a past success, you are firing the neurons in that circuit. Every time you read your new narrative, you are strengthening the connections. You are literally, physically, changing your brain to be more biased towards recognizing your own strength and capability. Furthermore, science is beginning to understand a phenomenon called post-traumatic growth. It is a concept that is the opposite of post-traumatic stress disorder. Many people who go through significant trauma and adversity after a period of struggle report positive psychological changes. They report a greater appreciation for life, a deepening of their relationships, a newfound sense of personal strength, and a shift in their life's priorities. This does not mean that trauma is good. It is not. It is painful and often terrible. But it does show that human beings have an incredible capacity not just to bounce back from adversity, but to bounce forward. We can be transformed by our challenges. The process of this transformation often begins with making sense of what happened and seeing how we grew from it. The Resilience Archive is a way to proactively induce a state of post-traumatic growth for all the challenges of your past, big and small. You are reframing your history from a series of painful events to a series of training sessions that have made you who you are today. This is not about pretending the past did not hurt. It is about honoring the pain by recognizing the strength it forged in you. A blacksmith does not create a strong sword by keeping it away from the fire and the hammer. The sword is made strong by the fire that heats it and the hammer that strikes it. You have been in the fire. You have been under the hammer. It is time to stop focusing on the dents and start recognizing the incredible temper and the sharp edge that the process has given you. I want you to really commit to this. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you will ever have. For too long, you may have been in an abusive relationship with your own inner critic. You have allowed it to define you based on your mistakes and your perceived weaknesses. Today is the day you file for divorce from that voice. You are starting a new relationship with yourself, one based on respect, admiration, and the undeniable truth of your own resilience. Your inner strength is not a myth. It is not a motivational platitude. It is your birthright. It is the legacy of every ancestor who survived long enough to pass on their genes. It is the quiet power that has carried you through every difficulty you have ever faced. You do not need to build it from scratch. You only need to clear away the debris of self-doubt and negative self-talk that has obscured it from your view. You are the mountain that has withstood the wind and the rain. You are the tree that has grown stronger in the broken places. You are the obsidian, forged in fire, ready to realize your own sharp, unbreakable nature. This archive, this new narrative, is your mirror. Look into it and see yourself for who you truly are. A survivor, a warrior, a person of deep and abiding strength. Chapter 3. The first crack, turning setbacks into setups. No matter how strong we become, no matter how deeply we connect with our inner resilience, the storms of life will still come. The winds will still blow, and the rains will still fall. And sometimes, things will break. A project at work that you poured your heart into might fail. A relationship you cherished might end. You might receive a health diagnosis that shakes you to your core. You might make a mistake that has serious consequences. These are the first cracks in our carefully constructed world. In these moments, the pain is real and immediate. It is a sharp, stinging sensation of failure, disappointment, embarrassment, or fear. Our first instinct is often to despair. We look at the crack and see only the damage. We see something that was once whole and is now broken. The story we tell ourselves is one of loss, of an ending, of a permanent flaw. We believe that the crack is a sign of our weakness, a final verdict on our worth. This chapter is about fundamentally changing your relationship with these cracks. It is about learning to see them not as the end of the story, but as the beginning of a new, more interesting one. It is about understanding that a setback is not a dead end, but a redirection. It is a setup for a comeback. We will learn how to transform the painful energy of failure into the productive fuel of growth. In Japan, there is a beautiful art form called kintsugi, which means golden joinery. When a piece of pottery, like a bowl or a cup, is broken, it is not thrown away. Instead, the pieces are carefully put back together using a special lacquer that is dusted or mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The result is that the cracks are not hidden. They are highlighted. They are made a beautiful and celebrated part of the object's history. The bowl is not just repaired, it is transformed. It is considered more beautiful and more valuable for having been broken. The philosophy behind kintsugi is that an object's breakage and repair are part of its story, not something to be concealed. The cracks are a testament to its resilience, to its ability to be put back together. This is the exact mindset we must cultivate for the setbacks in our own lives. We must learn to see the cracks not as sources of shame, but as opportunities to mend ourselves with gold. Every failure, every mistake, every heartbreak is a chance to rebuild ourselves into someone stronger, wiser, and more beautiful than we were before. The setback itself is not what defines you. What defines you is how you choose to mend the pieces. So how do we begin this process in a practical way when the pain of the crack is fresh and all we can feel is the loss? The first step is to shift your brain out of its panicked emotional state and into a more curious, analytical state. When a setback occurs, our mind tends to make sweeping, absolute, and negative statements. I've ruined everything. This is a complete disaster. I am such a failure. My life is over. These statements are dead ends. They are brick walls that our mind runs into. There is nowhere to go from everything is ruined. It is a final judgment. The most powerful tool to break down this wall is to consciously and deliberately change your statements into questions. A statement closes the mind. A question opens it up. A statement is a verdict. A question is an investigation. This is the reframe principle. You must catch yourself in the act of making a catastrophic statement and force yourself to ask a constructive question instead. For example, the statement, "I've ruined everything," can be transformed into the question, "What specifically has been negatively impacted by this, and what remains untouched and strong?" You will quickly realize that everything is almost never ruined. Your health might still be fine. Your key relationships might still be intact. Your core skills and knowledge are still there. The question forces you to be precise and to see the situation with more clarity. The statement, "This is a complete disaster," becomes the question, "What is the opportunity for growth or learning in this situation?" This question presupposes that there is an opportunity, which directs your brain to start searching for it. It is like giving your mind a new job. Instead of its job being, "List all the reasons this is terrible," its new job is, "Find the hidden gift." The statement, "I am such a failure," becomes the question, "This attempt did not work. What can I learn from the process to make the next attempt more successful?" This separates your identity from the outcome. The event was a failure, but you are not. You are a learner, a scientist who just gathered some very valuable data. This shift from statements to questions is not about pretending you are not hurt or disappointed. It is about refusing to let those emotions be the end of the conversation. It is about engaging with your reality in a way that creates possibilities instead of closing them down. To make this principle a core habit, you need a structured process to follow in the immediate aftermath of a setback. We will call this the post-setback debrief. This is a series of questions you can ask yourself, either by journaling your answers or simply by thinking through them in a quiet moment. It is your personal kintsugi kit for mending the cracks. Let's say you had a very important job interview for a position you really wanted, and you just found out you did not get it. The sting is fresh. You feel rejected and dejected. Instead of spiraling into negative self-talk, you take out your journal and begin the debrief. The first question is, what were my expectations? Be honest here. Your expectation might have been, I was the perfect candidate, so I expected to get the job offer. Or, I expected the interview to go much more smoothly. Sometimes, the pain of a setback is not caused by the event itself, but by the gap between our expectations and the reality. Acknowledging your expectations helps you see that gap clearly. It is the first step in detaching from the emotional charge of the outcome. The second question is, what actually happened? Just like the naming exercise in Chapter 1, this is about stating the objective facts. Strip away the emotional drama and the story. I participated in a multi-stage interview process for a specific role. Another candidate was selected for the position. That is it. That is the fact. The fact is not they rejected me or I wasn't good enough. Those are interpretations. Sticking to the facts creates a calm, neutral ground from which to analyze the situation without the distortion of your ego or your fears. The third question is, what part of this was within my control and what part was not? This brings back the powerful responsibility audit. The parts within your control might have been how much you researched the company, how well you prepared your answers to common questions, the clothes you wore, the questions you asked at the end. The parts outside your control were who the other candidates were and what their qualifications were, the specific personality of the interviewer, the company's internal budget for the role, whether the hiring manager already had an internal candidate in mind. This exercise is profoundly liberating. It helps you to stop wasting energy on the things you could never have changed anyway. You cannot control the quality of the other applicants. So why torture yourself by imagining they were all more qualified? You focus your attention back on your own actions, which is the only place you have any real power. The fourth question is, what specific actions of mine contributed to this outcome, both positively and negatively? This is a crucial step for learning. It requires radical honesty without blame or shame. On the positive side, you might write, I did a great job of explaining my experience on my last project. I built a good rapport with the first interviewer. On the negative side, you might write, I was not well prepared for the technical questions. I stumbled when they asked about my biggest weakness. I could have researched their company culture more deeply. This is not about beating yourself up. This is about gathering high-quality intelligence. You are like a general reviewing a battle. You are not judging your soldiers as good or bad. You are analyzing tactics. What worked? What did not? This information is pure gold. It is the curriculum for your own personal development. The fifth question is, what is the single most important lesson I can take from this? After your analysis, you need to distill it down into a powerful, memorable takeaway. It might be, I need to spend at least 5 hours preparing for technical questions before my next interview. Or it might be, this experience has shown me that I am more interested in smaller, more creative companies than large corporate ones. Or even, the lesson is that rejection is not fatal. I am disappointed, but I am still standing. Finding the lesson transforms the experience from a painful memory into a valuable asset. You have paid a price in terms of your time, effort, and emotional energy. The lesson is the return on that investment. Do not leave the table without collecting your profit. The sixth and final question is, what is one small, immediate action I can take to move forward? This is vital. After a setback, it is easy to feel paralyzed by disappointment. The key is to create momentum, no matter how small. Your action does not have to be monumental. It could be as simple as, I will update my resume with the experience I talked about in the interview, or I will connect with the interviewer on a professional networking site and thank them for their time, or I will find one other interesting job posting and submit an application, or even, I am going to close my laptop, go for a walk, and clear my head. This small action breaks the spell of inertia. It is a signal to your brain and to the universe that you are not defeated. You are regrouping, and you are getting back in the game. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and the journey out of the valley of failure begins with one small, forward-moving action. This post-setback debrief process is your structured way of practicing kintsugi on your life. You take the broken pieces, you analyze them without judgment, you find the lesson, and you use that lesson to move forward. This approach is deeply rooted in the ancient philosophy of Stoicism. The Stoics, philosophers who lived in ancient Greece and Rome, were masters of perspective. One of their core tenets was the idea that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgment about those events. The job interview was just an event. The disaster part is a judgment you added. The Stoics taught that every obstacle, every difficulty, can be seen as a form of training. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This powerful idea, often summarized as "the obstacle is the way," suggests that our challenges are not in the way of our path. They are the path. The problem is the raw material for the solution. Your lack of preparation for the technical questions in the interview is the obstacle. It is also the way. It is a giant flashing sign pointing you directly to where you need to improve. The obstacle is not punishing you, it is instructing you. The setback is not a wall, it is a signpost. Let's think about this like a video game. When you are playing a video game and you encounter a boss you cannot beat, what do? You do not throw the console out the window and declare yourself a failure at life. You see it as a challenge. You analyze the boss's attack patterns. You realize you need to level up your character, or find a better weapon, or try a different strategy. The failure to defeat the boss is just data. It is feedback. It tells you exactly what you need to do to succeed. Life is the same. Every setback is just a boss battle you have not figured out yet. The post-setback debrief is your way of studying the attack patterns so you can come back stronger and smarter. The Stoic mindset is about seeing life as your personal training ground, and every adversity is your personal coach, showing you exactly which muscles you need to strengthen. This way of thinking is also supported by modern psychology, most notably in the work of Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck and her research on mindset. Dweck identified two primary mindsets through which people view their abilities: a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A person with a fixed mindset believes that their intelligence, talents, and abilities are static, carved in stone. You are either good at something or you are not, and there is not much you can do about it. For someone with a fixed mindset, a setback is a devastating verdict. Failing a test means, I am stupid. Not getting the job means, I am not good enough. It is a judgment on their core identity. And so they avoid challenges and fear failure at all costs because it threatens their sense of self. On the other hand, a person with a growth mindset believes that their abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. They believe that their brain is like a muscle that can get stronger with effort. For someone with a growth mindset, a setback is not a verdict, it is an opportunity. Failing a test means I need to study differently, or I need to put in more effort. Not getting the job means I need to develop new skills, or I need to improve my interviewing technique. Failure is not a sign of inadequacy. It is an essential part of the learning process. You can see how perfectly this aligns with the Stoic philosophy and the post-setback debrief. The debrief is a growth mindset tool. It is built on the assumption that you can learn, adapt, and improve. Cultivating a growth mindset is one of the most powerful things you can do to harden your mind against adversity. How do you do this? You start by paying attention to your own language again. That fixed mindset voice is often the one making those catastrophic statements. I am just not a numbers person. I have never been good at public speaking. I am a terrible writer. When you hear that voice, I want you to challenge it. Add the word yet to the end of the sentence. I am not a numbers person yet. I am not good at public speaking yet. I am not a terrible writer. I just have not practiced enough yet. That one small word, yet, is incredibly powerful. It opens the door to possibility. It transforms a fixed state into a journey. It acknowledges your current skill level without accepting it as a permanent condition. Another way to cultivate this is to praise the process, not the outcome. If your child comes home with a good grade on a test, instead of saying you are so smart, which praises a fixed trait, try saying, I am so proud of how hard you studied for that test, which praises the effort and the process. Do this for yourself as well. When you complete a difficult task, do not just celebrate the completion. Acknowledge the focus, the discipline, and the perseverance it took to get there. By doing this, you are reinforcing the belief that it is the effort, the process, the learning, and the struggle that truly matter. You are building a growth mindset, brick by brick. Let us be clear, this is not easy. When a crack appears, the temptation to despair is strong. The lure of the fixed mindset, of blaming yourself or the world, is powerful. It takes conscious, deliberate effort to step back, pull out your debrief questions, and look for the lesson. But with practice, it becomes a habit. It becomes your new default response. You will find that the time between the setback and the start of your learning process gets shorter and shorter, and the emotional sting will still be there, but it will no longer paralyze you. You will begin to develop a quiet confidence, not that you will never fail, but that you can handle failure. You will start to see challenges not as threats, but as interesting puzzles. Life becomes less of a performance to be judged and more of an experiment to be run. Think of some of the most innovative companies and creative individuals in the world. Their success is built on a mountain of failures. Scientists conduct hundreds of experiments that do not work before they find one that does. Entrepreneurs launch businesses that fail before they create one that succeeds. Writers produce drafts that are terrible before they craft a final masterpiece. They do not see these failures as failures. They see them as iterations. They are necessary steps on the path to success. Each setback provides crucial data that informs the next attempt. This is the mindset you are cultivating. Your life is your laboratory. Your setbacks are your failed experiments. They are not a reason to shut down the lab. They are the very reason you will eventually succeed. They are the setups for your greatest breakthroughs. So, the next time a crack appears in your world, take a breath, acknowledge the sting, and then get out your tools. Look at the pieces, find the lesson, mix it with the gold of a growth mindset, and begin the beautiful, transformative art of kintsugi. Rebuild yourself, not just as you were, but stronger and more beautiful for having been broken. Chapter 4. The Inner Compass, Finding Your Why. Imagine two ships setting sail from the same port. They are identical in every way. The same sturdy construction, the same tall masts, the same skilled crew. One ship, however, has a destination. The captain has a map, a course is plotted, and a compass sits on the binnacle, its needle pointing steadily towards a distant shore. The other ship has no destination. The captain simply orders the sails raised, and the ship drifts wherever the winds and currents take it. When the weather is calm and the sun is shining, the second ship might enjoy a pleasant journey for a time. But when the first great storm hits, as all storms inevitably do, the difference between the two ships becomes a matter of life and death. The ship with a destination has a reason to fight the waves. The crew works with purpose, trimming the sails, manning the pumps, and steering through the gale. Every action is guided by the ultimate goal of reaching their port. The storm is a terrible obstacle, but it is an obstacle on the way to somewhere. The second ship, the aimless ship, has no such guiding principle. When the storm hits, the crew is thrown into chaos. Why fight the waves? There is no port to reach. There is no direction to steer towards. They are simply trying not to sink, with no greater purpose to fuel their endurance. They are far more likely to be overwhelmed, to give up, to be dashed against the rocks or lost to the sea. In the journey of life, you are the captain of your own ship. Your resilience, your skills, your relationships, these are the sturdy timbers and tall masts. But all the strength in the world is of little use against the storms of adversity if you do not have a compass, a direction, a destination. This is your why. It is your sense of purpose. It is the answer to the question, for what reason do I endure? A strong why is the single most powerful engine of human resilience. It is the fuel that keeps you going when your energy is gone, the anchor that holds you steady when the world is shaking, and the North Star that guides you through the darkest night. In our last chapter, we talked about mending the cracks, about turning setbacks into setups. But for that process to have meaning, for you to have the will to even begin the act of mending, you must have a reason to do so. Your why is that reason. This chapter is about helping you discover, or perhaps rediscover, that inner compass. It is not about finding some grand, earth-shattering mission, unless that is your calling. For most of us, purpose is found in a quieter, more personal way. It is about understanding what truly matters to you, what you value most deeply, and how you can live in alignment with those values every single day. One of the most profound explorations of this topic came from a man who endured one of the greatest storms imaginable. His name was Viktor Frankl. Frankl was an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist who was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz, during World War II. He was stripped of everything a human being can be stripped of: his home, his career, his possessions, his manuscript for a book he had been writing, and ultimately his entire family, including his pregnant wife, his parents, and his brother, who all perished in the camps. He lived for years in conditions of unimaginable suffering, starvation, and brutality, surrounded by death and despair. Yet he survived, and more than that, he observed. As a psychiatrist, he watched his fellow prisoners, and he noticed something crucial. He saw that the prisoners who were most likely to survive were not necessarily the physically strongest, but those who had a reason to live, a purpose that they clung to. It could be the hope of seeing a loved one again. It could be a faith in God. It could be a talent or a skill that they felt they still had to share with the world. Frankl himself found his why in two things: his deep love for his wife, whom he imagined having conversations with, and his determination to one day lecture to the world about the psychology of the concentration camp, to find meaning in the terrible suffering he was witnessing. After he was liberated, Frankl went on to write his monumental book, Man's Search for Meaning. In it, he put forth his theory of logotherapy, which is based on the idea that the primary driving force in human beings is not the pursuit of pleasure, as Freud believed, or the pursuit of power, as Adler believed, but the pursuit of meaning. Frankl's most powerful assertion was this: everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. He argued that even in the most horrific and powerless situation, we still have the freedom to choose how we respond. And a huge part of that response is our ability to find meaning in the experience. Frankl famously said, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." This is not a feel-good platitude. This is a conclusion forged in the fires of the Holocaust. It is a truth tested under the most extreme pressure imaginable. If a man in Auschwitz could find a why powerful enough to keep him alive, then surely in our own lives, with our own adversities, we too can find a why powerful enough to see us through. The problem for many of us is that we are not sure what our why is. We are so busy with the how of life, the day-to-day tasks, the job, the bills, the errands, that we never stop to ask the fundamental question of why. We live on autopilot, following a script that was written for us by our parents, our culture, or our own unexamined assumptions. We chase after things we are told should make us happy: a bigger salary, a nicer house, a more prestigious job title. But these things are often destinations without a map. Once we get them, we feel a temporary satisfaction, but the deep, abiding sense of purpose is still missing. We feel a hollow sense of, is this all there is? This is because a true why is not about what you get. It is about what you give. It is not about what the world can do for you, but about what you can do for the world. Even if your world is just your own family, your own community, or your own small corner of the internet. So how do we begin this search for meaning? It is not a passive process. You do not just sit under a tree and wait for your purpose to strike you like a bolt of lightning. Purpose is not found. It is forged. It is created through a process of deep self-reflection, conscious choice, and courageous action. We are going to embark on this process right now, with a series of exercises designed to help you excavate your core values and connect them to a sense of purpose. Get your notebook, the same one you used for your resilience archive. This is the next phase of your inner exploration. The first exercise is the value clarification. Your values are the foundation of your why. They are your personal, non-negotiable principles that define who you are at your core. Living a life of purpose is simply the act of living in alignment with your deepest values. When your actions are in harmony with your values, you feel a sense of rightness, of integrity, of peace. When your actions conflict with your values, you feel stress, guilt, and a sense of being out of sync with yourself. The first step is to figure out what your values actually are. I want you to read through the following list of values slowly. As you read, write down every single one that resonates with you, that feels important to you. Do not overthink it. Just make a long list of all the potential candidates. Here is a list to get you started. Honesty, creativity, security, adventure, compassion, growth, loyalty, freedom, stability, achievement, knowledge, wisdom, authenticity, justice, kindness, service, health, family, friendship, love, spirituality, wealth, power, influence, respect, responsibility, fun, joy, peace, order, beauty, nature, community, collaboration, independence, courage, discipline, passion, humility, forgiveness, integrity, open-mindedness, perseverance, reliability. Take your time. Once you have your long list, your next task is to narrow it down. Circle your top 10. This will be more difficult. You will have to make some choices. After you have your top 10, your final and most difficult task is to narrow it down to your top 5 core values. These 5 are the absolute pillars of your identity. They are the non-negotiables. To help you choose, ask yourself this question for each value. Is this something I truly believe in? Or is it something I feel I should believe in? Be brutally honest. Your values are for you, not for anyone else. Another helpful question is, would I still hold this value even if it brought me disapproval from others? Once you have your top 5, write them at the top of a new page. Now, the real work begins. For each of your 5 core values, I want you to write a paragraph answering these 3 questions. 1. What does this value mean to you in your own words? Define it for yourself. 2. Why is this value so important to you? Think about your past experiences. Where did you learn the importance of this value? 3. What does it look like to actively live this value in your daily life? What are the specific behaviors, actions, and choices that would demonstrate this value? For example, let's say one of your core values is growth. You might write, "To me, growth means always learning, evolving, and pushing myself out of my comfort zone. It means not being afraid to be a beginner. This is important to me because I saw my parents get stuck in routines, and I never want to feel like I am stagnating. To live this value, I can read a book on a new subject each month, take an online course, actively seek feedback at work, even when it is uncomfortable, and try a new hobby every year. Do this for all 5 of your core values. This exercise alone can be life-changing. It gives you a clear and personalized blueprint for a meaningful life. Your why is no longer a vague concept. It is the active pursuit of living out these 5 core principles. When you face a difficult decision, you can now run it through the filter of your values. Which option best aligns with your commitment to growth, honesty, compassion, or whatever your values may be? Your compass is now calibrated. Our second exercise is called the contribution compass. Viktor Frankl suggested that one of the primary ways we find meaning is by creating a work or doing a deed, essentially, by making a contribution to the world. This exercise shifts your focus from a self-centered perspective to a service-oriented one. For a long time, the central question of self-help has been, what do I want from life? We are going to flip that question on its head. I want you to spend some serious time contemplating this new question. What is life asking of me? This question presupposes that you have a unique gift to offer, a unique role to play that only you can fill. It reframes your life, not as a quest to take, but as an opportunity to give. To answer this question, we need to take an inventory of your unique assets. On a new page, I want you to create 3 columns. The first column is titled, My Passions. In this column, list the things that you genuinely love to do, the things that make you lose track of time. What topics are you endlessly curious about? What activities make you feel alive and energized? Do not filter this based on whether you are good at it or if it can make you money. Just list what you love. It could be anything from gardening to playing video games to organizing closets to deep conversations about philosophy. The second column is titled My Skills. In this column, list the things you are genuinely good at. These can be professional skills like coding, writing, or managing people. They can also be personal skills like being a great listener, being an amazing cook, being able to fix things, or having a knack for making people laugh. Think back to your resilience archive. What skills did you identify that have helped you overcome challenges in the past? List them all here. The third column is titled, The World's Needs. Now I want you to brainstorm a list of problems, big and small, that you see in the world around you. This does not have to be world hunger or climate change, though it certainly can be. It can also be problems closer to home. My local park is always full of litter. The elderly people in my neighborhood seem lonely. My friends are struggling with their mental health. Small businesses in my town are having trouble with their marketing. Children in my family's circle are not reading enough. There is a lack of kindness and civility in online discussions. List any problem or pain point that you genuinely care about. Now, I want you to look at these 3 columns. Your purpose, your why, often lies at the intersection of these 3 lists. Look for connections. Can you use something you are good at, a skill, to work on something you are passionate about in a way that helps to solve a problem you care about? For example, maybe you are passionate about dogs, you are skilled at web design, and you see that your local animal shelter has a terrible, outdated website that is making it hard for them to get donations and adoptions. There it is. That is a potential purpose. You could volunteer to redesign their website. Maybe you are passionate about cooking, you are skilled at organization and planning, and you see that your busy friends are always stressed about what to make for dinner and are eating unhealthy takeout. There it is. You could start a blog or a social media account sharing simple, healthy, weekly meal plans. This is not about finding a new career, though it could lead to that. It is about finding a way to contribute. A sense of purpose comes from the feeling that you matter, that your existence is making a positive impact on something other than yourself. This exercise helps you find the specific, practical ways you can make that impact. Our third exercise is the legacy visualization. This is a powerful way to connect with your why on a deep emotional level. I want you to find a quiet, comfortable place where you can close your eyes and not be disturbed for 15 minutes. I want you to imagine that you are at your own 90th birthday party. You are sitting in a comfortable chair and you are surrounded by the people who matter most to you in your life. Your family, your friends, your community. You are feeling happy, peaceful, and fulfilled. Now, I want you to imagine that a few of these people are going to stand up and give a short speech about you. They are going to talk about the kind of person you have been, the impact you have had on their lives, and what you have meant to them. I want you to listen to their speeches in your mind's eye. What do you want them to say? What words do you want them to use to describe you? Do you want them to say you were kind, that you were courageous, that you were a loyal friend, that you were a loving parent, that you inspired them to be better, that you always made them laugh, that you were a person of integrity who always stood up for what was right, that you created something beautiful that touched their lives, that you helped them through a difficult time? Do not just think about the words. Try to feel the emotions in the room. Feel the love, the respect, the gratitude. Really let that feeling sink in. After you have finished this visualization, open your eyes and grab your notebook. Write down everything you heard. Write down the qualities, the character traits, and the impacts that you want to be your legacy. This is not a morbid exercise. It is an exercise in clarity. It cuts through all the noise of daily life, all the trivial worries and fleeting ambitions, and it connects you to what truly matters in the end. The words you wrote down, the legacy you want to leave, that is your why. Now, your task is to live your life today in a way that is consistent with that legacy. If you want people to say you are kind, you have to practice kindness today, in this moment. If you want people to say you are courageous, you have to make a courageous choice today, no matter how small. Your legacy is not something that is written after you are gone. It is being written every single day by the choices you make and the actions you take. This visualization gives you the final destination, the port you are sailing towards. Now you can chart the course to get there. These exercises, the value clarification, the contribution compass, and the legacy visualization, are not one-time events. They are tools you can return to again and again throughout your life. Your why may evolve and change as you grow and your circumstances change. The key is to stay in conversation with yourself, to continually check your inner compass and make sure you are still on course. So what does all of this have to do with getting through adversity? It has everything to do with it. When you are clear on your why, the how of enduring hardship becomes manageable. Let's say you lose your job. If your why is tied to your job title or your salary, this event is catastrophic. It shatters your sense of self. But if your why is tied to your core values of growth, creativity, and service, then the loss of a job is simply a setback, a redirection. Your why is still intact. The job was just one of many possible vehicles for you to live out your values. Now you have the opportunity to find a new, perhaps even better, vehicle. The adversity becomes a catalyst for a new chapter in your journey of purpose, not the end of the book. When you are facing a difficult health challenge, if your why is simply to be comfortable and avoid pain, the situation is unbearable. But if your why is to be a source of love and strength for your family, then you will find the will to endure the treatments, to fight the illness, because you have a reason that is bigger than your own discomfort. Your purpose pulls you forward through the pain. This is what Viktor Frankl witnessed in the camps. The men who survived were the ones whose minds were focused on a why that transcended their daily suffering. Having a purpose does not make the pain go away. It does not magically solve your problems. What it does is it gives the pain a context. It makes the suffering meaningful. It transforms a pointless ordeal into a noble struggle. It gives you a reason to get out of bed in the morning, a reason to put one foot in front of the other, a reason to keep fighting when every part of you wants to give up. It is the unwavering voice inside you that says, "This is hard, but it matters, so I will continue." Your why is your shield and your sword. It protects you from despair, and it gives you the strength to cut a path through the wilderness of your challenges. So do the work. Calibrate your compass. The storms will come, but if you know your destination, you will never truly be lost. Chapter 5. The Anchor of Now. The Power of Presence. Our minds are magnificent instruments. They are capable of traveling through time at the speed of thought. In one instant, we can be transported back decades, replaying a vivid memory from our childhood, feeling the sting of an old regret, or basking in the warm glow of a past triumph. In the next instant, we can rocket forward into the future, rehearsing a conversation that has not happened yet, planning our goals for the next 5 years, or spinning elaborate fantasies of what might be. This ability to mentally time travel is a uniquely human skill. It allows us to learn from our past and to plan for our future. It is the source of all progress, all innovation, all art. But this incredible strength, when left unchecked, becomes our greatest source of suffering. Most of our anxiety, our stress, and our unhappiness does not come from what is happening in the present moment. It comes from our mind's tendency to wander away from the now. We are either being dragged backward into the past by the anchor of regret, or we are being pulled forward into the future by the hook of anxiety. We are rarely ever just here. Think about it. When you feel anxious, where is your mind? It is in the future. It is worrying about an upcoming presentation, a potential financial problem, a health scare, or what someone might think of you. It is churning through an endless series of what-if scenarios, almost all of which are negative. What if I fail? What if they leave me? What if I get sick? Anxiety cannot exist in the present moment. It is a future-oriented state of mind. Now think about when you feel sad or depressed. Where is your mind? It is often in the past. It is ruminating on a mistake you made, grieving a loss that has already occurred, or comparing your current reality to a better time that is gone forever. Depression is often a past-oriented state of mind. The tragedy is that we miss our actual lives. Our life is a series of present moments, a string of nows. But we are so busy living in our heads, in the non-existent past and the imaginary future, that we are absent for the only thing that is real, this moment, right here, right now. We eat our meals without tasting them, our minds preoccupied with the next item on our to-do list. We have conversations with our loved ones while simultaneously scrolling through our phones, our attention fractured. We go for a walk in nature and spend the entire time lost in a mental movie about our problems, completely missing the beauty of the trees and the sky around us. We are living on autopilot, and it is robbing us of our peace, our joy, and our ability to effectively handle the challenges that arise. This is especially true when we are in the midst of adversity. When a storm hits, our time-traveling mind goes into overdrive. The setback triggers memories of all our past failures, and our mind screams, "See, this always happens. You are no good." Simultaneously, it projects a catastrophic future. "This is a disaster. You will never recover. Everything is ruined." The actual problem, the event that happened in the present moment, is often manageable. But we are not dealing with the actual problem. We are dealing with the weight of all our past failures, plus the terror of 1,000 imagined future disasters. We are fighting ghosts and monsters, not the reality of our situation. This is why we feel so overwhelmed. The key to reclaiming your power, your peace, and your sanity during a storm is to learn how to drop the heavy anchor of your attention into the calm waters of the present moment. This is the practice of mindfulness. It is the art of being present. It is the skill of bringing your wandering mind back home to the now, over and over again. Before we go any further, it is important to clear up some common misconceptions about mindfulness and meditation. Many people hear the word meditation and imagine a monk sitting on a mountaintop, his mind perfectly blank, in a state of blissful emptiness. This is not the goal. You cannot stop your thoughts, nor should you try. Your brain's job is to think, just like your heart's job is to beat. Trying to stop your thoughts is like trying to stop the waves in the ocean. It is a futile and frustrating struggle. Mindfulness is not about stopping the waves. It is about learning to surf them. It is the gentle, non-judgmental awareness of your thoughts, your feelings, and your bodily sensations as they arise and pass away in the present moment. It is about observing your mental weather without getting swept away by the storm. Meditation is the formal practice you do to strengthen your mindfulness muscle. Just like you go to the gym to lift weights to build your biceps, you sit down to meditate, to build your capacity for present moment awareness. The stronger that muscle becomes, the more you can apply it in your daily life, in the moments when you really need it. The scientific evidence for the benefits of this practice is now overwhelming. Researchers using fMRI scans have shown that a regular mindfulness practice can literally change the structure and function of your brain. Studies led by neuroscientist Sarah Lazar at Harvard University found that mindfulness meditation can lead to an increase in the gray matter density in the hippocampus, which is important for learning and memory, and in structures associated with self-awareness and compassion. At the same time, they found a decrease in the gray matter density in the amygdala, the part of the brain that acts as our fear and stress alarm center. In essence, the practice helps to shrink the brain's panic button and grow the parts of the brain associated with calm, rational thought. This is profound. You are not just changing your mind, you are changing your brain. You are upgrading your own internal hardware to be more resilient, more focused, and less reactive to stress. So how do we begin this practice? We start with the most basic and available tool we have, our breath. Your breath is your ultimate anchor to the present moment. You cannot breathe in the past. You cannot breathe in the future. You can only breathe right now. By placing your attention on the physical sensation of your breath, you are tethering your wandering mind to the reality of the present. We are going to start with a foundational exercise called the breath anchor. This is a simple 5-minute meditation that you can do anywhere. I will guide you through it now in words. Find a comfortable seated position. You can sit on a chair with your feet flat on the floor and your back straight, but not stiff. You can sit cross-legged on a cushion. The key is to be in a posture that is both alert and relaxed. Gently close your eyes. Begin by taking 3 deep, cleansing breaths. Inhale slowly through your nose, filling your belly with air, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, letting go of any initial tension. After the 3rd exhale, allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm, breathing in and out through your nose. Now, bring your full attention to the physical sensation of your breath. You might choose to focus on the feeling of the cool air entering your nostrils. You might focus on the rising and falling of your chest, or you might focus on the gentle expansion and contraction of your abdomen. Choose one spot and rest your attention there as best you can. Your only job for the next few minutes is to feel the sensation of one breath from the moment it begins to the moment it ends. And then the next one. Now, here is the most important instruction. At some point, very soon, your mind will wander. This is not a mistake. This is not a sign that you are bad at meditation. This is simply what minds do. You will start thinking about your to-do list, or replaying a conversation, or wondering what you will have for lunch. The moment you notice that your mind has wandered, that is the magic moment of mindfulness. In that moment of noticing, you have just woken up from autopilot. You have become present. The instruction is simple. Without any judgment or frustration, gently acknowledge where your mind went. Thinking. And then gently and kindly escort your attention back to the sensation of your breath. This is the entire practice. You breathe. Your mind wanders. You notice. You gently return. That is it. It is a single repetition, a single bicep curl for your brain. The goal is not to have a perfectly still mind. The goal is to keep coming back again and again with kindness. Every time you guide your mind back to your breath, you are strengthening that prefrontal cortex. You are weakening the grip of your default mode network, and you are building the muscle of focused, present moment awareness. I encourage you to practice this for just 5 minutes every day. Set a timer. Do it first thing in the morning if you can, before the day's chaos begins. It is a small investment of time with an enormous potential return. As you get more comfortable, you can extend the time to 10, 15, or 20 minutes. This formal practice is your training ground. Now, let's talk about how to bring this skill off the cushion and into your life, especially when you are facing adversity. When a setback hits, your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, gets hijacked. It floods your body with stress hormones. Your heart pounds, your mind races, and you are thrown into that primal fight or flight mode. This is the absolute worst state to be in for making clear, wise decisions. In these moments, you can use a powerful mindfulness technique that is often summarized by the acronym STOP. It stands for Stop, Take a Breath, Observe, and Proceed. Let's break it down. The first step is S, stop. The moment you feel that wave of panic, anger, or despair rising, just stop what you are doing. Do not react. Do not fire off that angry email. Do not make that impulsive decision. Just freeze for a moment. This single act of pausing breaks the chain of unconscious reaction. It creates a small gap between the trigger event and your response. In that gap lies your freedom and your power. The second step is T. Take a breath. Take 1, 2, or 3 conscious, deliberate breaths, just like you do in your meditation practice. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the air entering your lungs. This simple act engages your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's rest and digest system. It acts as a brake on the runaway train of the stress response. It tells your amygdala, it's okay, we are not being chased by a lion. We can calm down for a second. The third step is O, observe. In this moment of pause, turn your attention inward. What are you experiencing right now? Observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Notice the catastrophic stories your mind is telling you. Just see them as thoughts, as mental events, not as facts. There is the thought that I am a failure. Observe your emotions. Where do you feel the anger or fear in your body? Is it a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach? Just notice the physical sensations with a gentle curiosity, without needing to fix them or make them go away. You are becoming the calm witness to your own inner storm, rather than being the storm itself. The final step is P, proceed. Now that you have paused, centered yourself, and observed the situation with more clarity, you can choose how to proceed with intention and wisdom, rather than reacting from a place of fear or anger. You can ask yourself, what is the most constructive thing I can do right now? What response would align with my core values? You might decide that the best action is to have a difficult conversation, or to ask for help, or to simply go for a walk and clear your head further. Whatever you choose, you are choosing it consciously. You are back in the captain's seat, steering the ship, rather than being tossed about by the waves of your own reactivity. The STOP method is a mindfulness first aid kit. You can use it dozens of times a day. The more you use it, the more it will become your automatic response to stress. Beyond these crisis moments, the real power of mindfulness comes from integrating it into the small, mundane moments of your life. This is the practice of informal mindfulness. You do not need to close your eyes or sit on a cushion. You just need to bring your full, undivided attention to whatever you are doing. When you are drinking your morning coffee, instead of scrolling through your phone, try just drinking the coffee. Notice the warmth of the mug in your hands. See the steam rising from the surface. Inhale the rich aroma. Take a sip and really taste it. When you are washing the dishes, feel the warm water on your hands. Hear the sound of the plates clinking. See the iridescent colors of the soap bubbles. You can transform any routine activity into a mindfulness practice simply by paying attention to it with all of your senses. Why is this so important? Because it trains your attention. Every time you bring your mind back from distraction to the feeling of the warm water, you are doing another rep. You are strengthening your ability to place your attention where you want it to be. This is a superpower in our age of distraction. But more importantly, it fills your life with life. It pulls you out of the grey, zombie-like state of autopilot and into the vivid, high-definition reality of the present moment. The more you practice this in the calm moments, the easier it will be to access this state of presence when the storms hit. You will have a well-practiced anchor that you can drop at a moment's notice. Let's connect this directly to adversity. Imagine you are facing a long-term difficult situation, like unemployment or a chronic illness. Your mind will naturally want to live in the future, worrying about how you will pay your bills next month, or if your health will ever improve. This constant future tripping is exhausting and demoralizing. It is like trying to carry the weight of the next 365 days all at once. The practice of presence allows you to put down that impossible burden. It teaches you to focus on just one day at a time, one moment at a time. Your only job is to handle this moment. Can you get through this breath? Yes. Can you get through this hour? Yes. Can you get through today? Yes. By breaking the overwhelming challenge down into a series of present moment tasks, it becomes manageable. You are not solving the entire problem of your illness forever. You are simply taking your medication for today. You are not solving the entire problem of unemployment. You are simply sending out one well-crafted job application today. The anchor of now keeps you focused on the one piece of the path you can actually walk on, which is the piece that is right in front of you. This practice is the ultimate act of self-compassion. When you are dwelling on a past mistake, you are punishing yourself over and over again for something that is already done. When you are anxiously worrying about the future, you are making yourself suffer twice. Once in your imagination, and then again if the bad thing actually happens. The practice of returning to the now is a gift you give yourself. It is a release from the prison of your own mind. It is a returning home to the only place where peace can be found. Your life is not in your memories. Your life is not in your plans. Your life is here. This breath, this moment. This is where your strength is. This is where your clarity is. This is where your peace is. In the midst of the storm, the waves of the past and future will crash and churn. But deep beneath the surface, the ocean is always calm and still. Your anchor of presence can take you to that place of deep, quiet strength, no matter how fiercely the storm may rage on the surface. Practice dropping it every day. It is the key to navigating the turbulent waters of life with grace, courage, and a steady heart. Chapter 6. The Resilient Toolkit. Practical Habits for a Stronger Mind. If you were to build a great fortress, a stronghold designed to withstand any siege, you would not focus only on the height of the walls or the strength of the gate. You would pay just as much attention to the foundation upon which the entire structure rests. You would ensure it was deep, solid, and unshakable. If the foundation is weak, made of sand or soft earth, then even the most impressive walls will eventually crack and crumble under pressure. In the preceding chapters, we have been working on the architecture of your mind, building the inner walls of self-awareness and the gatehouse of perspective. Now, we must turn our attention to the foundation. This foundation is your physical body. For centuries, we have been taught to think of the mind and body as separate entities, as if your brain were a commander living in a completely disconnected machine. This is a profound and damaging illusion. The truth is, your mind and your body are in a constant, intimate, and inseparable conversation. The state of your physical health directly and powerfully impacts the state of your mental health. Your brain is a physical organ, and like any other organ, its function is dependent on the environment you create for it within your body. You cannot forge an obsidian mind in a neglected vessel. This chapter is about the practical physical habits that form the bedrock of mental resilience. We will not be talking about extreme diets or punishing workout regimes. We will be talking about the simple, fundamental pillars of physical well-being: routine, movement, fuel, and sleep. These are not luxuries to be enjoyed only when you have extra time. They are not secondary concerns to be addressed after you have solved all your real problems. In times of adversity, they become your most essential strategies. When the siege begins and the catapults of stress are firing against your walls, it is the strength of your foundation that will determine whether you stand or fall. Think of these habits not as chores, but as the deliberate and sacred act of preparing your fortress for the unavoidable storms of life. They are your toolkit for building a body that supports, rather than sabotages, your quest for a hardened mind. We will explore the simple science behind why these pillars matter and, most importantly, the actionable, step-by-step methods for incorporating them into your life, no matter how busy or overwhelmed you may feel right now. This is where the abstract concepts of resilience become a tangible daily practice. Let's begin with the scaffolding that holds everything else together: routine. In our modern culture, the word routine can sometimes have a negative connotation. We associate it with being boring, stuck in a rut, or lacking spontaneity. We crave freedom and flexibility. But here is a paradox. True freedom is not found in chaos, but within structure. A well-designed routine does not imprison you, it liberates you. It does this by automating the essential so you can dedicate your finite mental energy to the exceptional. Think about how much of your brain power is consumed each day by small, trivial decisions. What should I wear? What should I eat for breakfast? Should I go to the gym now or later? When will I answer these emails? This constant stream of choices leads to a well-documented phenomenon known as decision fatigue. Your willpower is a finite resource, like a muscle that gets tired with overuse. The more small decisions you make throughout the day, the less mental energy you have left for the big, important ones, and the more likely you are to make poor choices or simply feel overwhelmed and exhausted. A routine is a way to outsource these recurring decisions to the power of habit. When you have a routine, you no longer have to decide whether to brush your teeth in the morning. You just do it. You have created an automatic script that your brain can run without conscious effort. This frees up an enormous amount of cognitive bandwidth. It quiets the noise of trivial choices so you can hear the signal of what truly matters. In times of adversity, this becomes an absolute lifeline. When you are grieving, or you have lost a job, or you are facing a major life transition, the world can feel chaotic and out of control. Your inner world is in turmoil. A simple, consistent routine becomes an external source of stability. It is a predictable rhythm in an unpredictable world. It is a series of small, manageable actions you can take when the larger picture is terrifyingly uncertain. Even if the only thing you accomplish on a difficult day is your morning routine, you have started the day with a victory. You have sent a powerful message to your brain that even in the midst of this storm, you are still in command of your own actions. So how do you build a routine when you are not a routine person? The key is to start ridiculously small. We often fail at building new habits because we try to do too much, too soon. We go from 0 to 100, get overwhelmed, and then quit, reinforcing the belief that we are incapable of change. We are going to use a different approach. We are going to focus on building a simple morning routine and a simple evening routine. These are the two bookends of your day, and they have a disproportionate impact on your overall well-being. Let's start with your morning. The first hour of your day sets the tone for the next 16. If you start your day in a state of reactive chaos, grabbing your phone the moment you wake up, scrolling through stressful news and other people's curated lives, and then rushing to get ready, you are starting the day on the defensive. You are letting the world dictate your mood and your focus. A proactive morning routine allows you to start the day on your own terms. We are going to design a simple routine that takes as little as 10 to 15 minutes. Let's call it the hydrate, move, breathe routine. The first step upon waking, before you do anything else, is to hydrate. Your body has just gone 6 to 8 hours without water. You are dehydrated, which can lead to fatigue and brain fog. Keep a glass of water by your bed, and the very first thing you do is drink it. This simple act rehydrates your body and brain, fires up your metabolism, and flushes out toxins. It is a tiny action, but it is a deliberate choice to care for your physical well-being before the world has a chance to make its demands. The second step is to move. This does not mean you have to do a full workout. The goal is simply to wake up your body. This can be as simple as 5 minutes of gentle stretching. Reach your arms up to the sky, touch your toes, do some simple neck rolls and shoulder shrugs. The goal is to get the blood flowing and to connect with your physical self. If you want to do more, you could do a 5-minute yoga flow, a few push-ups and squats, or a short walk around your block. The key is that it is a non-negotiable part of your morning. You are telling your body, we are awake, we are ready for the day. Movement is a powerful antidote to the feeling of lethargy and stagnation that often accompanies difficult emotional states. The third step is to breathe. This is your anchor to the present moment, which we discussed in the last chapter. Sit down in a comfortable chair for just 3 to 5 minutes. Set a timer. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. You are not trying to achieve a state of perfect calm. You are simply practicing the art of returning your attention to the now. You are observing your mental state without judgment. This short practice calms your nervous system and allows you to begin your day from a center of awareness rather than a whirlwind of reactivity. Hydrate, move, breathe. That is it. It might not sound like much, but if you do these 3 things consistently, you will transform the way you enter your day. You can, of course, add more to this. You might add 5 minutes of journaling, or 5 minutes of reading an inspirational book, or the simple act of making your bed, which is another small victory to start your day. The important thing is to keep it simple and achievable. Now let's look at the other bookend, your evening routine. How you end your day has a huge impact on the quality of your sleep, which in turn affects your mental and emotional state the next day. A calming evening routine is a signal to your brain and body that it is time to transition from the activity of the day to the rest and recovery of the night. The most crucial part of this routine in our modern world is what we will call the digital sunset. For at least 60 to 90 minutes before you plan to go to sleep, you must turn off all screens. This means your phone, your television, your computer, your tablet. The blue light emitted by these screens tricks your brain into thinking it is still daytime. It suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it is time to sleep. This is why you can be physically exhausted, but still find yourself lying in bed with a racing mind, unable to switch off. The content on these screens, the endless scroll of social media, the stressful news, the suspenseful shows, also puts your brain into a state of high alert and stimulation, which is the exact opposite of what you need for restful sleep. During your digital sunset, you replace screen time with calming activities. Read a physical book. Fiction is often best, as it allows you to escape into another world. Listen to calming music or a relaxing podcast. Do some gentle stretching. Take a warm bath or shower, as the subsequent drop in your body temperature can help to trigger sleep. One of the most powerful evening rituals you can adopt is a simple planning and journaling practice. Take 5 minutes to write down your main priorities for the next day. This act of getting your plans out of your head and onto paper can stop your mind from churning over them when you are trying to fall asleep. After you plan, take another 5 minutes for a simple gratitude practice. Write down 3 specific things that went well that day, or 3 things you are grateful for. This shifts your focus from the problems and stresses of the day to the positive aspects of your life, no matter how small. It is a way of ending your day on a note of peace and appreciation. These routines are the scaffolding. They provide the structure. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful tools in your toolkit for actively changing your brain chemistry: movement. When you are feeling stressed, anxious, or depressed, the absolute last thing you often feel like doing is exercising. Your body feels heavy, your energy is low, and your mind tells you that it would be pointless. This is a cruel trick your mind plays on you, because movement is often the most potent and immediate antidote to these feelings. Exercise is not just about your physical health, it is a powerful mental health intervention. When you engage in physical activity, your brain releases a cascade of powerful chemicals. You have probably heard of endorphins, which are often called the body's natural painkillers and mood elevators. This is what is responsible for the runner's high. But the effects go much deeper. Exercise also increases the levels of key neurotransmitters like serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, all of which play a crucial role in regulating your mood. Many antidepressant medications work by trying to make more of these chemicals available in the brain. Exercise does this naturally and without side effects. Perhaps the most exciting discovery in neuroscience in recent decades is the role of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. You can think of BDNF as miracle grow for your brain. It helps to repair existing brain cells and to grow new ones. It strengthens the connections between neurons, which is essential for learning and memory, and it is particularly active in the hippocampus, the part of the brain that is highly involved in mood regulation, and is often smaller in people with depression. What is one of the most powerful ways to increase the production of BDNF? You guessed it, physical exercise. Every time you move your body, you are giving your brain a dose of this incredible protein. You are literally building a bigger, stronger, more resilient brain. At the same time, exercise is one of the most effective ways to burn off the stress hormone, cortisol. When you are stuck in a state of anxiety, your body is coursing with cortisol. Movement helps to metabolize this chemical, discharging that restless, agitated energy and bringing your nervous system back into balance. So, knowing all this, how do we bridge the gap between understanding the benefits and actually doing it, especially when we have zero motivation? First, we must redefine what exercise means. We need to liberate it from the idea that it has to be a 1-hour, high-intensity session at a gym. Exercise is simply movement. The goal is to find a form of movement that you enjoy, or at least that you dislike the least. It could be dancing in your living room, hiking in nature, swimming, cycling, rock climbing, or playing a sport. If you find a joyful way to move, you are infinitely more likely to stick with it. For many people, the most accessible and sustainable form of movement is walking. Do not underestimate the profound power of a simple walk. A brisk 20 to 30-minute walk can have a significant impact on your mood and stress levels. It gets you out into the fresh air and sunlight, which itself has mood-boosting effects. It is a form of bilateral stimulation, the rhythmic left-right movement of your body, which can be very calming for the nervous system. If you are feeling stuck on a problem or trapped in a loop of negative thinking, one of the best things you can do is to get up and walk. The act of physically moving forward can often help you to mentally move forward as well. The key to building a movement habit is the same as with routine. Start ridiculously small. The rule is that it must be so easy that you cannot say no. Can you commit to a 5-minute walk every day? Just 5 minutes. Anyone can do that. Put on your shoes, walk out your door, walk for 2.5 minutes, and then turn around and walk back. That is it. Do that every day for a week. What you will find is that often, once you are out the door, 5 minutes turns into 10 or 15. But the goal is just 5. You are building the habit of showing up. Once that habit is established, you can gradually increase the duration. Another powerful technique is habit stacking. Link your movement habit to an existing habit. For example, after I finish my first cup of coffee in the morning, I will do 10 minutes of stretching. Or, whenever I have to make a phone call, I will pace around my apartment while I talk. You are piggybacking the new habit onto a well-established one, which makes it easier for your brain to adopt. Now let's talk about the fuel for your fortress, your nutrition. The connection between what you eat and how you feel mentally is no longer a fringe idea. The field of nutritional psychiatry is exploding with research showing the profound impact of our diet on our mood, our anxiety levels, and our overall brain function. Remember, your brain is a physical organ, and it needs the right raw materials to work properly. It is an energy-hungry organ, consuming about 20% of your body's calories. The quality of those calories matters immensely. This is not going to be a complicated lesson in nutrition. We are going to focus on a few core principles. The first is to understand the gut-brain axis. You have probably heard your gut referred to as your second brain. This is not just a catchy phrase. Your gut is lined with millions of neurons, and it is in constant communication with the brain in your head. In fact, an estimated 90% of your body's serotonin, that key mood-regulating neurotransmitter, is produced in your gut. The health of your gut, specifically the trillions of bacteria that live there, known as your microbiome, has a direct impact on your mental health. A healthy, diverse microbiome helps to produce the chemicals that keep your mood stable. An unhealthy gut can lead to inflammation, which is now being recognized as a major contributing factor to depression and anxiety. So how do you cultivate a healthy gut? The simplest way is to eat a wide variety of plant-based foods, which are rich in fiber. Fiber is the preferred food for your good gut bacteria. The second principle is to be mindful of the impact of processed foods and sugar. When you are feeling stressed or down, what do you crave? For most of us, it is high sugar, high fat, processed foods. There is a biological reason for this. Cortisol, the stress hormone, increases your appetite and makes you crave energy-dense foods. Indulging in these foods gives you a quick hit of dopamine, a pleasure chemical in the brain, which makes you feel better for a fleeting moment. But this is followed by the inevitable crash. Your blood sugar spikes and then plummets, leaving you feeling more tired, more irritable, and more emotionally unstable than before. It is a vicious cycle. Consuming these foods regularly also promotes inflammation and harms your gut microbiome, further contributing to poor mental health. The approach here is not about deprivation or shame. It is about addition and awareness. Instead of focusing on what you need to cut out, focus on what you can add in. Can you add one piece of fruit to your breakfast? Can you add a side salad to your lunch? The goal is to crowd out the less healthy foods with more nutrient-dense ones. The second key is hydration. Your brain is about 75% water. Even mild dehydration can impair your cognitive function, your focus, and your mood. Many of the symptoms of dehydration, like headaches and fatigue, can be mistaken for other problems. Before you reach for a snack, try drinking a large glass of water first. You might just be thirsty. Aim to drink water consistently throughout the day. This simple habit can have a massive impact on your mental clarity and emotional stability. Finally, we arrive at the fourth and perhaps most critical pillar of your foundation: sleep. In our hustle culture, sleep is often seen as a luxury or a sign of weakness. We boast about how little sleep we need, as if it were a badge of honor. This is a catastrophic misunderstanding. Sleep is not a passive state of rest. It is an active and essential biological process that is fundamental to every aspect of your physical and mental health. Skimping on sleep is like trying to build your fortress on a seismic fault line. It is a guaranteed recipe for collapse. When you sleep, your brain is hard at work. It is consolidating memories, moving information from your short-term storage to your long-term storage. This is why a good night's sleep is so crucial for learning. But it is also processing emotions. During REM sleep, your brain processes the difficult and emotional experiences of the day, stripping away the sharp emotional charge so that you can wake up with a clearer perspective. Sleep is a form of overnight therapy. When you are sleep deprived, you are robbing your brain of this crucial opportunity to heal. This is why, after a poor night's sleep, you often feel more emotionally raw, more irritable, and more reactive. In fact, studies have shown that a single night of sleep deprivation can increase the activity in your amygdala, your brain's fear center, by up to 60%. Your brain's panic button becomes hypersensitive. Minor stresses that you would normally handle with ease suddenly feel like major crises. Even more incredibly, recent research has uncovered a process called the glymphatic system, which is like your brain's private waste disposal service. During the day, your brain cells produce metabolic waste. While you are in deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink, which allows cerebrospinal fluid to flow through your brain and wash away these toxic byproducts. This process is 10 times more active when you are asleep than when you are awake. If you do not get enough quality sleep, this waste builds up. This is why you feel that sense of brain fog after a bad night. You are literally walking around with a brain full of yesterday's garbage. Consistent sleep deprivation is now being linked to a higher risk of serious neurological conditions. Given its supreme importance, protecting your sleep must become a non-negotiable priority, especially during times of adversity. This is where your evening routine, your digital sunset, becomes your most powerful tool. You have to create the conditions for sleep to happen. Your bedroom should be a sanctuary for sleep, and nothing else. It should be as dark, as cool, and as quiet as possible. Invest in blackout curtains. Use a white noise machine or earplugs if you have to. Avoid caffeine in the afternoon and evening, and be mindful of alcohol. While alcohol might make you feel drowsy and help you fall asleep initially, it disrupts the quality of your sleep later in the night, particularly your REM sleep. What do you do when you are lying in bed and your mind is racing? A common problem when you are going through a difficult time. First, do not panic. Fretting about not sleeping is a surefire way to ensure you stay awake. Accept that you are having a difficult night. Practice some of the mindfulness techniques we have discussed. Focus on your breath. Do a body scan meditation. If you are still awake after 20 minutes, the best advice is to get out of bed. You do not want your brain to start associating your bed with a place of frustration and wakefulness. Go to another dimly lit room and do something calming. Read a boring book. Listen to a guided meditation. When you start to feel sleepy again, go back to bed. These 4 pillars, routine, movement, fuel, and sleep, are your resilient toolkit. They are not separate from the mental work of building an Obsidian mind. They are an integral part of it. They are the daily practices that create the physiological state that makes resilience possible. Do not be overwhelmed by this. You do not have to perfect all 4 at once. The principle, as always, is to start small. Pick one area to focus on this week. Maybe it is just adding that 5-minute walk to your day. Maybe it is just drinking a glass of water when you wake up. Maybe it is just turning off your phone 30 minutes earlier tonight. These are not small things. They are the first crucial steps in laying a new foundation. Each time you make one of these choices, you are casting a vote for your future self. You are sending a signal of self-respect to your own body and mind. You are the builder of your own fortress. Start laying the stones today, one by one. This is the quiet, daily, unglamorous work that forges true, lasting strength. Chapter 7. The Strength in Connection. Leaning on your tribe. There is a powerful and persistent myth that lies at the heart of our modern culture. It is the myth of the lone wolf, the rugged individualist, the solitary hero who faces down adversity all by themselves. We see it in our movies, we read it in our books, and we internalize it as the ultimate ideal of strength. To be strong, the myth tells us, is to be self-sufficient, to not need anyone, to handle your own problems quietly and without burdening others. To ask for help is a sign of weakness. To admit that you are struggling is a sign of failure. This myth is not just wrong, it is a dangerous and destructive lie. It runs contrary to the deepest truths of our biology, our psychology, and the entire history of human civilization. The solitary hero is a fantasy. In the real world, resilience is not a solo sport. It is, and has always been, a team event. True strength is not found in isolation, but in connection. It is the courage to lean on others, and the generosity to let others lean on you. Think of a single, majestic tree standing alone in an open field. It may be strong and beautiful, but when a great storm comes, its isolation is its greatest vulnerability. It bears the full force of the wind alone. Its roots have only their own grip on the soil to keep it from toppling. Now, think of a forest. The trees in a forest are not just a collection of individuals. They are a community. Their branches interlock, providing mutual shelter from the wind. Their roots intertwine beneath the soil, creating a vast, interconnected network that holds the earth together. They share nutrients and send warning signals to one another through this underground web. A forest creates its own ecosystem, its own climate. It is far more resilient to the storm than any single tree could ever be. We, as human beings, are meant to be a forest, not a collection of solitary trees. This chapter is about learning to embrace this fundamental truth. It is about dismantling the myth of rugged individualism and cultivating the most powerful resource we have for navigating adversity: our tribe, our community, our human connections. Our need for connection is not a preference. It is a biological imperative. For thousands of generations, our ancestors survived on the harsh plains of Africa, not because they were the strongest or the fastest animals, but because they were the best at cooperating. To be cast out from the tribe was a death sentence. To belong was to survive. This ancient wiring is still deeply embedded in our DNA and our nervous systems. Our brains are built for connection. When we experience positive social interaction, our brains release a hormone called oxytocin. Often called the bonding hormone or the cuddle hormone, oxytocin promotes feelings of trust, empathy, and generosity. It also has a powerful calming effect on our nervous system. It lowers cortisol levels, reduces blood pressure, and counteracts the fight or flight stress response. It is the biological basis for the feeling of safety and warmth we get from being with people we trust. In fact, some scientists have proposed an alternative to the classic fight or flight model of stress response, particularly for females. It is called the tend and befriend response. This theory suggests that when faced with a threat, our instinct is not just to fight or flee, but to protect our offspring, tend, and to seek out social connection, befriend. Reaching out to our tribe in times of stress is not a sign of weakness. It is a hardwired survival instinct. It is our biology's most brilliant strategy for finding safety and resilience. The opposite is also true. When we are isolated and lonely, our bodies perceive it as a threat, as if we have been cast out from the tribe. Chronic loneliness triggers a sustained, low-grade stress response. It keeps our cortisol levels high, promotes inflammation throughout the body, and disrupts our sleep. The physiological damage caused by chronic loneliness is so severe that some major studies have concluded it is as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day and is more dangerous than obesity. Let that sink in. A lack of social connection can be more deadly than some of the most well-known physical health risks. We have a public health crisis of loneliness, and it is a crisis that each of us must address in our own lives if we want to build a truly resilient mind and body. The first step in strengthening your connections is to take an honest inventory of your current forest. Not all relationships are created equal. Some are like mighty oaks that provide deep shade and support, while others may be more like invasive vines that are actually draining the life out of you. We are going to conduct a relationship audit. I want you to take a piece of paper and draw 3 concentric circles, one inside the other, like a target. The innermost circle is your inner circle. These are the 1 to 3 people in your life who are your absolute ride or die tribe. These are the people you could call at 3 in the morning with a crisis, and they would be there for you without question. These are the people with whom you can be your most authentic, vulnerable self, without fear of judgment. This circle is about profound trust and mutual support. If you have even one person in this circle, you are incredibly fortunate. The middle circle is your support circle. These are your good friends, close family members, and trusted colleagues. You might not share your deepest, darkest fears with them, but they are a source of joy, laughter, and genuine camaraderie. You can rely on them for advice, celebrate your wins with them, and they provide a strong sense of community and belonging. This circle might contain 5 to 10 people. The outermost circle is your community circle. This includes your wider network of acquaintances, neighbors, members of a club or religious group you belong to, or your friendly local barista. These connections might seem more casual, but they are vitally important. They are the source of what sociologists call social cohesion. These are the weak ties that provide a sense of rootedness and familiarity in your daily life. They are the friendly faces and small interactions that make you feel like you are part of something larger than yourself. Now, I want you to start placing the people in your life into these circles. As you do this, I want you to reflect on a crucial question for each person. How do I feel after I interact with this person? Do I generally feel energized, seen, and supported? Or do I generally feel drained, anxious, or judged? be honest. There are some relationships that, for various reasons, act as energy vampires. They consistently take more than they give. They may be overly critical, perpetually negative, or self-absorbed. It is important to identify these draining relationships. This does not mean you have to cut these people out of your life immediately, especially if they are family members. But awareness is the first step. It might mean you need to establish stronger boundaries with these individuals, limit your time with them, or change the nature of your interactions to protect your own energy. Your social energy is a precious resource. You must invest it wisely. The goal of this audit is to see where your forest is strong and where it needs tending. Do you have at least one person in your inner circle? Is your support circle robust? Are you connected to a wider community? Once you have a clear picture of your current landscape, you will likely see areas where you want to cultivate deeper or new connections. And this brings us to the single biggest barrier to forming meaningful relationships: the fear of vulnerability. We want to be close to people, but we are terrified of being rejected. So we keep our guard up. We present a curated, polished version of ourselves, hoping that people will like this version. We talk about superficial topics. We hide our struggles, and we pretend we have it all together. But connection cannot happen without authenticity. True intimacy is born from vulnerability. The word vulnerability often gets confused with weakness, but this could not be further from the truth. As the researcher Brené Brown has so powerfully taught the world, vulnerability is not weakness. It is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. It is the courage to show up and be seen when you have no control over the outcome. It is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, and trust. When you refuse to be vulnerable, you are essentially standing on one side of a deep canyon, shouting across to another person on the other side. You can see each other, you can hear each other, but you can never truly connect. Vulnerability is the act of building a bridge across that canyon. It is the scary, shaky, courageous act of taking that first step onto the bridge, of sharing something real about yourself, of saying, "This is who I am. This is what I'm struggling with." And when the other person takes a step onto that bridge to meet you, that is where the magic happens. That is the moment of connection. Without that shared risk, you remain safe, but you also remain alone. So how do we practice this courage? It is not about oversharing with strangers. Vulnerability must be earned. You share your story with people who have earned the right to hear it, people who have shown themselves to be trustworthy. You start small. You test the waters. With someone in your support circle who you would like to move into your inner circle, you might share a small struggle you are having at work. You see how they respond. Do they listen with empathy? Do they honor your story? Or do they dismiss it, judge it, or turn the conversation immediately back to themselves? Their response tells you if the bridge is safe to walk on. This is how you build trust, layer by layer, through small, reciprocal acts of vulnerability. Now for the big practical question. How do you actually make new friends and forge new connections, especially as an adult? It often feels so much harder than when we were kids. The principles are actually the same. Friendship is largely a function of proximity and consistency. You become friends with the people you see on a regular basis. As a child, this was built into your life through school. As an adult, you have to consciously create situations that allow for this to happen. The key is to find your third place. Sociologists refer to a third place as a location that is not your home, your first place, or your work, your second place. It is a public space where people gather and interact. It could be a coffee shop, a gym, a library, a park, a church, a community center. You need to find a third place where you can consistently show up. The strategy is to combine this with your interests and values, which you identified in Chapter 4. What are you curious about? What do you enjoy doing? Find a group, a class, or a club that revolves around that interest. If you love to read, join a book club. If you want to learn to paint, take an art class. If you care about animal welfare, volunteer at a local shelter. If you enjoy a particular sport, join a recreational league. By doing this, you are accomplishing two things at once: First, you are doing an activity you genuinely enjoy, which is good for your well-being in its own right. Second, you are placing yourself in a room with people who already share at least one common interest with you, which makes starting conversations much easier. You show up consistently, week after week. You become a familiar face. You learn people's names. Small talk gradually deepens into real conversation. This is how adult friendships are forged. It is not a quick process. It is a slow burn, built on shared experiences and consistent presence. Within these settings, you must be willing to be the initiator. This can be scary, but it is essential. Most people are just as nervous about taking the first step as you are. When you take that risk, you are giving them a gift. It can be as simple as asking a good question. Instead of asking, "How are you?" where the default answer is "fine," ask something more specific. What was the best part of your week? Or, what are you excited about right now? The most powerful way to connect with someone is to be genuinely curious about them. Listen more than you talk. Ask follow-up questions. People feel seen and valued when someone takes a genuine interest in their lives. After a few positive interactions, take the next step. Be the one to say, "I have really enjoyed our conversations. Would you be up for grabbing a coffee sometime?" Yes, you might get rejected. But more often than not, people will be relieved and happy that you took the initiative. Every deep friendship you have ever had started with one person taking a small social risk. Finally, we must talk about the most crucial aspect of being part of a tribe, especially in times of adversity: the two-way street of giving and receiving help. For many of us, especially those who pride ourselves on being strong and capable, receiving help is far more difficult than giving it. We do not want to be a burden. We do not want to appear weak or needy. We tell ourselves, "I should be able to handle this on my own." But when you refuse to ask for help, you are robbing your friends and loved ones of the opportunity to contribute. You are denying them the good feeling that comes from making a difference in the life of someone they care about. Asking for help is not a burden. It is a gift. It is an act of trust. It is saying to someone, "I value you, and I trust you enough to let you see me when I am not at my best." The key to asking for help is to be specific. A vague cry for help like, "I am really struggling," is hard for people to respond to. It is too big. They do not know what you need, so they often do nothing, fearing they will do the wrong thing. A specific request is actionable. Instead of, "I am overwhelmed," try, "I am feeling completely overwhelmed with the kids this week. Could you possibly take them to the park for 2 hours on Saturday afternoon so I can have some time to myself?" Instead of, "I am so lonely," try, "I am having a really tough week and could use a friend. Do you have 15 minutes for a phone call tonight?" A specific request is easy for someone to say yes to, and it gives them a clear way to make a tangible difference. The other side of this street, of course, is the act of giving help. When you are going through your own storm, one of the most powerful things you can do to lift your own spirits is to help someone else. It seems counterintuitive. You might think, "I do not have the energy to deal with my own problems, let alone someone else's." But when you are trapped in a cycle of rumination and worry about your own situation, your world shrinks down to the size of your own pain. The act of service, of focusing your attention on the needs of another person, shatters that small world. It gets you out of your own head. It reminds you that you have value and capacity, that you can still make a positive impact even when you are struggling. It connects you to a sense of purpose. This does not mean you have to solve their problems. Often, the greatest help you can offer is simply your presence. It is the act of listening without judgment, of holding space for their pain, of sending a simple text that says, "I am thinking of you." Your tribe is your lifeline. They are the people who will celebrate with you in the sunshine, and, more importantly, hold the umbrella over you in the rain. They are the ones who will remind you of your own strength when you have forgotten it. They are the ones who will reflect your best self back to you when you can only see your flaws. Building and nurturing this forest is not a passive activity. It is one of the most important and rewarding projects of your entire life. It requires courage, vulnerability, and consistent effort. But the return on that investment is immeasurable. It is the feeling of knowing that you are not alone in the storm. It is the quiet confidence that comes from having roots that are intertwined with others. You do not have to be a solitary tree. You were born to be part of a magnificent, resilient forest. It is time to find your place in it. Chapter 8. The Art of Letting Go. Releasing what you can't control. Imagine you are walking along a path and you come across a large, rough, heavy stone. For some reason, you feel compelled to pick it up. At first it just feels solid in your hand, a tangible weight. You decide to carry it with you. For the first few minutes, it is no real problem. You shift it from hand to hand, adjusting your grip. But after an hour, your arm begins to ache. The muscles are strained and tired. After a few hours, your arm is numb, your shoulder is on fire, and every step is a jarring agony. Your entire focus shrinks down to the pain and the struggle of carrying this heavy, useless stone. You can barely notice the beautiful scenery around you, the sun on your face, or the path ahead. The stone has become your entire world, and it is a world of pain. Now imagine how you would feel in the single blissful moment you decide to simply open your hand and let it drop. Imagine the feeling of release, the rush of blood back into your fingers, the lightness in your arm and your spirit. That stone is everything you are clinging to that you cannot control. It is the grudge against the person who wronged you years ago. It is the gnawing regret over a past mistake. It is the constant buzzing anxiety about a future you cannot predict. It is the expectation of how life should have been. We pick up these stones, these heavy burdens, often without even realizing it. We carry them for so long that we forget what it feels like to walk without them. We mistake their weight for the natural weight of the world. Letting go is the simple, revolutionary, and often terrifyingly difficult act of opening your hand. It is not an act of weakness or surrender. It is not about pretending the past did not happen, or that the future does not matter. It is a courageous act of wisdom. It is the conscious choice to reclaim your energy, your peace, and your present moment from the things that are beyond your power to change. We cling to these stones for many reasons. Sometimes we believe that by constantly replaying a grievance, we are somehow holding the other person accountable. That if we let go, we are letting them get away with it. Sometimes we cling to regret because we feel we deserve to be punished for our mistakes. And we cling to worry because it gives us the illusion of control. If we can just think through every possible negative outcome, we trick ourselves into believing we can somehow prevent it. But these are all illusions. Your resentment does not punish the other person. It poisons you. Your regret does not change the past. It chains you to it. Your anxiety does not control the future. It robs you of your now. This chapter is a practical guide to unclenching your fist. We will identify the specific stones you are carrying and learn the practical techniques for letting them fall one by one, so you can walk your path with lightness, freedom, and a clear view of the road ahead. The first and heaviest stone for many of us is the stone of the past. Our minds are like Velcro for negative past experiences, and we often carry them in the form of grudges and resentment. A grudge is a story you tell yourself over and over again. It is the story of a wrong that was done to you, a debt that you are owed. You are the righteous victim, and the other person is the villain. We replay the story in our minds, polishing the details, reinforcing our sense of injury. This feels powerful. It feels like we are holding a moral high ground. But what is it actually doing? Imagine you've been wronged by someone. Holding a grudge is like drinking a small dose of poison every single day and hoping that the other person will get sick. It is a futile act of self-harm. The resentment lives in your body. It tightens your chest, sours your stomach, and floods your system with the stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. It keeps you tethered to the very person who hurt you, allowing them to occupy precious real estate in your mind, rent-free, long after the event has passed. They have moved on with their lives, while you are still stuck in a mental prison of your own making, re-experiencing the pain again and again. The key that unlocks this prison is forgiveness. This is one of the most misunderstood concepts in all of personal development. Let us be crystal clear about what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not about condoning the other person's behavior. It is not about saying that what they did was okay. It is not about forgetting that the event happened. It is not about letting that person back into your life if they are a source of harm. You can forgive someone and still choose to never see them again. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. It is the act of cancelling a debt that was never going to be paid anyway. It is the decision to stop carrying the other person's wrongdoing around as your own burden. It is the ultimate act of self-love and liberation. It is you taking the poison out of your own hand and choosing to heal. So how do you do it, especially when the hurt is deep? Forgiveness is a process, not a single event. The first step is to acknowledge the fullness of your pain. You cannot heal a wound by pretending it is not there. You have to allow yourself to feel the anger, the sadness, the sense of betrayal. Write it down. Speak it out loud to a trusted friend or a therapist. Give the pain a voice. So often we try to rush past this stage, to jump straight to, I should forgive them. But if you do not honor the reality of your hurt, the forgiveness will be hollow and incomplete. You have to look at the wound before you can treat it. The second step is to make a conscious choice to let go. Forgiveness is a decision. It is not a feeling that just magically arrives one day. You have to choose it. You might say to yourself out loud, I am no longer willing to carry this pain. I am no longer willing to give this person power over my emotional state. For the sake of my own peace and my own health, I am choosing to begin the process of letting go. This choice is a declaration of your own freedom. You may have to make this choice every day for a while. You will have moments where the anger flares up again. In those moments, you gently remind yourself of your choice. Ah, there is the anger again. I remember. I am choosing to let this go. The third step is to reframe the story. As long as you are the powerless victim in the story, you will remain stuck. You must find a way to reframe the narrative, not to excuse the other person, but to empower yourself. This is where you connect back to the lessons from Chapter 3, the post-setback debrief. What did you learn from this painful experience? Did it show you the importance of setting stronger boundaries? Did it reveal a red flag in relationships that you will now be aware of? Did it, in some strange way, make you a stronger, more compassionate, or wiser person? By finding the lesson, you transform the story from the terrible thing that happened to me into the difficult experience that taught me something invaluable. You are no longer just the victim. You are the survivor who gained wisdom. The final step is to release the person. This can be done through a powerful ritual. Write a letter to the person who hurt you. Pour out everything you need to say, all the anger, all the pain. Do not hold back. Then, at the end of the letter, write the words of forgiveness. Something like, for my own sake I forgive you and I release you. I release myself from the burden of this anger. You are not going to send this letter. This letter is for you. After you have written it, you can destroy it in a symbolic way. Burn it safely in a fireplace or a metal bowl. As you watch the paper turn to ash, visualize all the resentment, all the pain, and your connection to that person turning to ash with it. Feel the lightness that comes with that release. This is not a magic cure, but it is a powerful symbolic act that can mark a turning point in your healing. Another heavy stone from the past is the stone of regret. Regret is the ghost of a different life, a life where you made a different choice. We are haunted by the what-ifs. What if I had taken that job? What if I had said, I love you? What if I had not made that terrible mistake? Regret is a form of self-punishment. We keep ourselves locked in the past, replaying our failures, believing that if we just beat ourselves up enough, we can somehow atone for them. But the past is a country to which we can never return. All the regret in the world cannot change a single second of what has already happened. It is a complete and total waste of your precious life energy. The antidote to regret is a combination of self-forgiveness and learning. The process is very similar to forgiving another person, but this time, the grace is directed inward. You must acknowledge your mistake fully. Own it. Do not make excuses. Look at the choice you made and the consequences it had with clear eyes. Feel the discomfort of that. This is responsibility, but you must separate the action from your identity. You made a bad choice. That does not make you a bad person. You did something that failed. That does not make you a failure. This is a crucial distinction. Next, you must harvest the lesson. Your past mistakes are your most valuable teachers, but only if you are willing to learn from them. Just like in the post-setback debrief, ask yourself the hard questions. Why did I make that choice? What was I thinking or feeling at the time? What did I not know then that I know now? What systems can I put in place to ensure I do not make a similar mistake in the future? When you extract the lesson, the mistake is no longer a source of shame. It becomes a source of wisdom. You have turned the lead of your failure into the gold of your growth. Finally, you must forgive yourself and recommit to the present. Self-forgiveness can be the hardest work of all. You have to accept that you did the best you could at the time with the knowledge and resources you had. You are a fallible human being just like everyone else. A powerful practice is to write a letter of forgiveness to your younger self, the self who made the mistake. Offer that younger version of you the compassion and understanding you would offer to a dear friend. Then, you must consciously pivot your attention back to the now. The only way to truly make amends for a past mistake is to live a better life today. You cannot change what you did, but you can use the wisdom you gain to make better choices in this moment, and the next, and the next. That is how you honor the past without being a prisoner to it. Now, let's turn our attention to the stones we carry for the future. The heaviest of these is the stone of anxiety and the need for control. The future is, by its very nature, uncertain. This uncertainty makes our survival-oriented brains deeply uncomfortable. So we try to control it. We create elaborate plans. We rehearse conversations. We play out endless worst-case scenarios in our minds, believing that by worrying, we are somehow preparing ourselves. But worry is not preparation. Preparation is taking constructive action in the present moment on the things you can actually control. Worry is simply spinning your wheels in the mud of a future that does not exist. It is paying interest on a debt you may never even owe. All this mental churning does not change the future one bit, but it completely destroys your experience of the present. The art of letting go of the future is the art of embracing uncertainty. It is about shifting your focus from controlling the outcomes to focusing on your actions in the present. This brings us back to the Stoic principle we touched on in the first chapter, the dichotomy of control. You must develop a ruthless clarity about what is in your circle of influence and what is in your circle of concern. Your circle of concern contains a vast number of things: the global economy, what other people think of you, whether it will rain on the day of your picnic, whether you will get that promotion. You can be concerned about these things, but you have no direct control over them. Your circle of influence is much, much smaller. It contains your thoughts, your actions, your choices, your effort, your attitude. That is it. That is your entire domain of power. A resilient and peaceful mind is one that relentlessly pulls its energy and attention out of the vast, uncontrollable circle of concern and focuses it like a laser on the small but powerful circle of influence. For example, you are going for a job promotion. You are concerned about who the other candidates are, what the biases of the hiring committee might be, and the company's financial health. These things are in your circle of concern. Worrying about them is pointless. Your energy should be 100% focused on your circle of influence, preparing your presentation, researching and anticipating questions, practicing your delivery, and showing up with a positive and confident attitude. You focus on giving the best performance you are capable of giving, and then you let go of the outcome. The outcome is not, and never was, in your control. This is the essence of what ancient spiritual traditions call non-attachment. It is not about not caring. It is about caring deeply about your effort, but releasing your ego's attachment to a specific result. A practical exercise to build this muscle is the daily release. At the end of each day, take a few minutes with your journal. Draw two columns. On the left, list all the things you were worried about today. On the right, for each item, identify whether it was inside or outside your circle of influence. For the items that were outside your control, consciously practice letting them go. You can say to yourself, I have done all I can do in the realm of my own actions. The rest is not up to me. I release it. This daily practice trains your brain to recognize the difference between productive action and pointless worry. Another major future-oriented stone we carry is the weight of other people's opinions. We are social creatures, and the desire to be liked and accepted is a powerful driver. But when we tether our self-worth to the approval of others, we are handing them the keys to our emotional well-being. We become chameleons, changing our colors to please everyone, losing touch with our own authentic selves in the process. We are constantly worried about what they will think, saying yes when we mean no, and filtering our true thoughts and feelings. This is an exhausting and soul-crushing way to live. Letting go of the need for approval begins with a fundamental realization. You will never, ever be able to control what another person thinks. Their opinion of you is a product of their own life experiences, their own biases, their own insecurities, and their own current mood. It has very little to do with you and everything to do with them. Trying to manage the opinions of everyone you meet is like trying to nail jello to a wall. It is an impossible, frustrating task. The solution is to cultivate a strong internal source of validation. This comes from living in alignment with your own core values, the ones you identified in Chapter 4. When you know what your values are, and you are making choices that are consistent with those values, you create a sense of inner integrity. You can respect yourself, even if someone else disapproves of your choice. Their opinion becomes just information, not a verdict on your worth. You can listen to it, you can consider it, but it does not have the power to knock you off your center. You need to shift your goal from being liked to being respected, and the person whose respect matters most is your own. Ask yourself, at the end of the day, can I look myself in the mirror and respect the person I was and the choices I made? If the answer is yes, then you are free. The practical art of letting go is a daily practice. It is a mental muscle you must build. It involves catching yourself in the act of clinging. When you feel the familiar tightness of resentment, the cold grip of regret, or the hot buzz of anxiety, that is your cue. That is your moment of mindfulness. In that moment, you can use a simple technique. It is called name it, normalize it, and redirect it. First, name it. Give a label to the stone you are carrying. This is resentment. This is the story of my past mistake. This is my mind trying to control the future. Naming it creates a little bit of space between you and the emotion. You are no longer consumed by it. You are the observer of it. Second, normalize it. Remind yourself that this is a normal human experience. It is normal to feel angry when you have been wronged. It is normal for the human brain to worry about the future. This step removes the second layer of suffering, the self-judgment. You are not bad or broken for having these thoughts or feelings. You are just human. This self-compassion is crucial. Third, redirect it. This is where you consciously shift your focus. If you are clinging to the past or future, you redirect your attention to the present moment, using your breath as an anchor, just as we practiced in Chapter 5. You feel your feet on the floor. You notice the sights and sounds around you. You bring yourself back home to the only reality that exists. If you are focused on things outside your control, you consciously redirect your attention to your circle of influence. You ask yourself the most powerful question there is. What is one small constructive action I can take right now? This question pulls you out of the swamp of powerless rumination and places you back on the solid ground of purposeful action. Letting go is not a destination you arrive at one day. It is a continuous practice, like sweeping the floor of your mind. The dust of resentment, regret, and worry will always try to settle again. Your job is simply to notice it and to gently sweep it away, again and again. Each time you choose to open your hand and release a stone you cannot control, you become lighter. You reclaim your energy. You free yourself to engage fully and joyfully with the beautiful, unpredictable, and precious journey of your life, right here, right now. That is a freedom that no one can ever take from you. Chapter 9. The Sharpened Edge. Turning Pain into Purpose. In the violent, fiery heart of a volcano, rock is melted and transformed under pressure that is almost impossible to imagine. When this molten essence is forced to the surface and cools with breathtaking speed, it does not have the luxury of time to form gentle, predictable crystals. It solidifies into something else entirely. It becomes obsidian, a volcanic glass. It is a material born not of peace, but of chaos. It is dark, beautiful, and most importantly, it possesses an edge. When fractured, obsidian breaks in a unique way that creates a blade of molecular thinness, sharper than the finest steel scalpel. Our earliest ancestors recognized this power. They used this stone, forged in the Earth's trauma, to create the tools that allowed them to survive and to thrive. They used its sharpened edge to hunt, to protect, and to build. The very thing that was born of a destructive event became a powerful tool for creation and survival. This is the ultimate metaphor for the human spirit and the final destination of our journey together. We have talked about facing the storm, about understanding our strength, about mending cracks, about finding our direction, about anchoring ourselves in the now, about building our physical foundation, about leaning on our tribe, and about letting go of what we cannot control. Now we arrive at the most profound and transformative stage of all. The conscious act of turning your own pain, your own trauma, your own adversity into your sharpest edge. This is the alchemy of the soul. It is the process by which you stop being the victim of your history and become the master of it. It is about understanding that the goal is not simply to survive your hardships, to get back to who you were before the storm. The goal is to be fundamentally transformed by them, to emerge from the fire not just unbroken, but with a new and powerful capacity to carve a life of meaning and to make a unique impact on the world. This chapter is about how to consciously forge that edge. For a long time, the study of psychology focused almost exclusively on the pathologies that can arise from trauma, on post-traumatic stress disorder, and this is a real and devastating condition. But in recent decades, researchers have begun to study a different, equally powerful phenomenon: post-traumatic growth. This is the remarkable discovery that many people who experience significant adversity and trauma, after a period of intense struggle, report positive psychological changes that go beyond a simple return to their previous baseline. They do not just bounce back, they bounce forward. They report a greater appreciation for life, a deepening of their relationships, a shift in their priorities, a greater sense of personal strength, and most importantly, a new or revised sense of purpose. This is not some Pollyanna, look on the bright side fantasy. This is a documented human capacity for transformation. The trauma itself is not a gift. The pain is not good. But the growth that can be consciously cultivated in the aftermath of that pain can be one of the most precious assets of your life. The volcanic eruption is a terrifying, destructive event. But the obsidian it creates is a gift of immense value. The process of forging your edge is about learning how to pick up the pieces left by the eruption and discover the powerful tool that has been created. The first sharpened edge that is forged in the fire of adversity is the edge of profound empathy. Pain is the great equalizer. It cuts through all the superficial differences that divide us: our status, our wealth, our background, our beliefs. When you have truly suffered, when you have been brought to your knees by life, something inside you breaks open. The hard shell of your ego, The part of you that is so concerned with your own individual story cracks. And through that crack, the light of our shared humanity begins to shine in. Before your own great hardship, you might have looked at another person's suffering with a detached sense of pity. You might have thought, that is so sad for them. Or even worse, you might have judged them, thinking they should have made better choices. But after you have walked through your own fire, you look at another's pain, and you do not just see it, you recognize it. You feel it in your bones. You understand, on a cellular level, what it means to hurt. This newfound empathy is not a weakness. It is a superpower. It is the ability to connect with another human being on a level that is authentic and healing. It turns you into a safe harbor for others who are weathering their own storms. Your past pain becomes a bridge, not a wall. When a friend comes to you with a story of heartbreak, you are no longer just offering them platitudes from a book. You are offering them the quiet, powerful understanding of someone who knows the territory. You can sit with them in their darkness without needing to rush them into the light, because you know that sometimes the darkness is just part of the journey. Your words have a new weight, a new resonance, because they are backed by the authority of your own experience. You are no longer just a person offering advice. You are a fellow traveler, a guide who can say with absolute conviction, I have been where you are, and I know there is a path through. This edge of empathy is the foundation for turning your pain into purpose. Your wound becomes the source of your wisdom, a gift you can now offer to others. The second sharpened edge is that of unshakable perspective. Before a major life-quake, our world is often filled with mountains that are actually molehills. We are consumed by small anxieties and petty frustrations. We lose our temper over traffic jams. We are devastated by a critical comment on social media. We are consumed by the drama of office politics. Our sense of what constitutes a crisis is calibrated to a life of relative comfort and ease. Then the real earthquake hits. You receive a serious health diagnosis. You lose someone you love. You face a financial ruin that threatens your very security. You go through a trauma that fundamentally shakes your sense of safety in the world. And after the dust settles, as you begin to stand up again, you look back at the landscape of your old worries, and they seem impossibly small. The traffic jam is no longer a source of rage. It is a quiet moment to listen to music. The critical comment is no longer a wound. It is just noise. The office politics are no longer a source of drama. They are a trivial game. Adversity is a brutal but effective teacher of what truly matters. It is a crucible that burns away the non-essential. It forces you to confront the big questions. What is truly important to me? Who do I love? How do I want to spend my precious, finite time on this earth? This recalibration of your priorities is a profound gift. It simplifies your life. It gives you a new clarity and a new courage. You stop wasting your energy on things that do not align with your deepest values, the ones you excavated in Chapter 4. You find a new appreciation for the simple, profound joys that you previously took for granted. A beautiful sunset, a shared meal with a loved one, the simple act of taking a healthy breath. This is not about being morbid or fatalistic. It is about being fully alive. When you have faced the real possibility of loss, you learn to hold the gifts of your life with a new sense of reverence and gratitude. This edge of perspective allows you to navigate the inevitable smaller challenges of daily life with a new sense of grace and ease. You have faced the dragon, and the lizards on the side of the path no longer frighten you. The third sharpened edge, which lies at the very heart of the Obsidian Mind, is the edge of authentic strength. There is a type of strength that comes from a life of ease. It is the strength of a pristine, unblemished piece of porcelain. It is beautiful to look at, but it is brittle. At the first hard knock, it shatters into 1,000 pieces. Then there is the strength that comes from being broken and put back together. This is the strength of kintsugi we talked about, where the cracks are filled with gold. This is a beautiful and resilient kind of strength. But there is another level. It is the strength of obsidian. It is the strength that is forged in the trauma itself, where the very molecular structure of your being is rearranged by the pressure and the heat. This is authentic strength. It is not about being unbreakable. It is about knowing, in your soul, that you can be shattered and still endure, still reform, still find a way to be useful and whole. This authentic strength is quiet and unassuming. It does not need to boast or posture. It is a deep, internal knowing. It is the confidence that comes from looking back at the greatest challenges of your life and being able to say, "That did not kill me. I am still here." This creates a profound shift in your relationship with fear. You are no longer so afraid of failure because you know you can survive it. You are no longer so afraid of heartbreak because you know you can heal. You are no longer so afraid of the unknown because you have navigated it before. This does not mean you are fearless. It means you have learned to be courageous, which is the ability to act in the face of fear. You have earned your strength through your scars. Your scars are not signs of damage. They are proof of your healing. They are the marks of a warrior. This authentic strength is the solid core that allows you to face future storms, not with arrogance, but with a quiet, steady confidence that you have what it takes to weather them. These three edges, empathy, perspective, and authentic strength, are the raw materials. But they do not automatically transform into purpose. That requires a conscious act of creation. This is the final and most important step, forging your purpose. Your pain does not have a purpose until you give it one. This is the ultimate act of power and defiance. It is you, looking at the most difficult chapter of your life and deciding that you will be the one who writes the ending. You will be the one who determines what it will all mean. The most powerful way to do this is through the act of rewriting your narrative. For a long time after a traumatic event, you may have told yourself the story of a victim. This terrible thing happened to me, and it ruined my life. This story is understandable, and it is a necessary part of the grieving process, but you cannot live there forever. To forge a purpose, you must consciously become the author of a new story, the story of a hero. The hero's journey is a classic narrative structure found in myths and stories across the world. The hero starts in an ordinary world, is called to a difficult adventure, the adversity, faces trials and tribulations, confronts their greatest fear, the ordeal, and eventually returns home, transformed, with a gift or a piece of wisdom, the elixir, to share with their community. I want you to take out your journal and map your own experience of adversity onto this structure. What was your ordinary world like before the challenge? What was the call to adventure that you did not ask for? Who were your allies and mentors, your tribe? What was your darkest moment, your ordeal? And most importantly, what is the elixir? What is the gift, the lesson, the wisdom that you have brought back from that dark place? It might be your newfound empathy. It might be your new perspective. It might be your authentic strength. By framing your story in this way, you transform yourself from a passive victim to the active, courageous hero of your own life. This is not a lie. It is a deeper truth. It is a story that honors your struggle and gives it meaning. Once you have identified your elixir, the final step is to share it. A purpose is not something you have. It is something you do. The ultimate way to give your pain a purpose is to use what you have learned to ease the suffering of others. This is the alchemy that turns your personal need into communal gold. This is the point where your sharpened edge becomes a tool for the good of your tribe. This act of service can take countless forms. If you have survived a particular illness, you might volunteer at a hospital or mentor someone who has just been diagnosed. If you have overcome a devastating financial loss, you might offer workshops on financial literacy to people in your community. If you have healed from a toxic relationship, you might become a source of wise counsel for friends who are struggling with similar issues. If you are a gifted writer or artist, you can transform your experience into a story, a poem, or a painting that can make another person feel less alone in their own struggle. The act of service is a powerful healing force for two reasons. First, it gets you out of your own head. When you are focused on helping someone else, you have less time to ruminate on your own pain. Your world expands beyond the borders of your own story. Second, it redeems your suffering. Your pain is no longer a pointless, tragic event. It has become the very curriculum that qualified you to help someone else. Your worst day becomes the foundation for your greatest contribution. You have transformed the ugliest part of your life into the most beautiful. You did not choose the pain, but you have chosen the purpose. This is the pinnacle of the Obsidian Mind. It is a mind that does not run from the fire, but accepts that the fire is a part of the landscape of life. It is a mind that understands that the greatest pressure can create the most valuable assets. It is a mind that is not defined by what has happened to it, but by what it has chosen to become in response. You are the Obsidian. You have been forged in the chaos and pressure of your own unique life story. Look at the sharpened edges that your journey has given you. Do not see them as flaws or as sources of shame. See them for what they are. Your empathy, your perspective, your authentic strength. These are your tools. This is your power. Now, pick them up. Use them to carve your path. Use them to build a better world for yourself and for those around you. Use them to live a life not just of survival, but of deep and profound purpose. Your greatest pain has prepared you for your greatest contribution. Your journey through the fire has given you everything you need. Chapter 10. The Unbreakable Core. Living with an Obsidian Mind. We have arrived at the end of our journey on the page, but at the true beginning of your journey in the world. We have travelled a long road together, from the dark and churning seas of the initial storm to the fiery heart of the volcano where new strength is forged. We have acknowledged the inevitability of adversity, and instead of building walls to hide from it, we have learned to build a stronger ship. We have excavated the bedrock of our own history to uncover a resilience we never knew we possessed. We learned to see the first crack not as a flaw, but as the beginning of a beautiful repair. We calibrated our inner compass, finding a why so powerful it could pull us through any how. We discovered the profound peace of the anchor of now, a safe harbour in any mental storm. We laid the physical foundation of our fortress with the simple, powerful tools of routine, movement, fuel, and sleep. We dismantled the myth of the lone wolf and embraced the life-giving strength of the forest, our tribe. We learned the liberating art of unclenching our fists, of letting go of the heavy stones of the past and future. And finally, we stood in the aftermath of our own personal eruptions and saw not a landscape of ruin, but a field of precious obsidian, ready to be honed into a tool of purpose. Now, we must ask the final question. What does it mean to truly live this? How do we integrate these 10 distinct principles into one seamless, unbreakable core? An Obsidian Mind is not a collection of tricks you pull out when things get tough. It is a fundamental shift in your way of being. It is the identity you inhabit. It is the lens through which you see the world, not just on the bad days, but on every day. This final chapter is about that integration. It is about weaving these disparate threads into the single strong cable of your character. It is about moving from learning the concepts to becoming the living embodiment of them. The goal is not just to have a toolkit, but to become the master craftsman who wields those tools with unconscious competence, shaping a life of courage, meaning, and quiet strength. This is the culmination of our work, the art of living with an unbreakable core. The first step in this integration is to see these principles not as a checklist, but as a living, interconnected system, a self-reinforcing ecosystem of resilience. Each element supports and strengthens all the others. Think of it like a magnificent archway. Each stone is essential, and the pressure of all the stones together is what gives the arch its incredible strength. Remove one, and the entire structure is weakened. Let us look at how these stones lock into place. The physical foundation of the resilient toolkit is the ground upon which the entire arch is built. When you are sleeping well, moving your body, and eating nourishing food, you are creating the neurological and biological environment where all the other practices can flourish. It is far easier to find the mental clarity to practice the anchor of now When your brain is not foggy from sleep deprivation or a sugar crash, it is easier to find the emotional energy to lean on your tribe when your body is not depleted. This physical foundation is not separate from your mental work. It is the soil from which your mental strength grows. Now, consider the interplay between the anchor of now and the art of letting go. The practice of mindfulness, of returning your attention to your breath and your senses, is the training ground for letting go. When you are meditating and you notice your mind has wandered to a past regret, the gentle act of returning your attention to your breath is a small-scale, powerful repetition of letting go. You are practicing releasing your attachment to a thought. When you do this hundreds of times on the meditation cushion, you build the mental muscle to do it in the real world, when the thought is not just a passing distraction, but the heavy stone of a deep-seated grudge. You cannot let go of a stone you do not realize you are carrying. The mindfulness of Chapter 5 is the awareness that lets you feel the strain in your hand, and the wisdom of Chapter 8 gives you the permission and the method to open your fingers. Similarly, the strength in connection and the sharpened edge of purpose are deeply intertwined. It is often through the act of sharing our story with our tribe, through the courageous act of vulnerability, that we begin to make sense of our pain. As we speak our truth to a compassionate witness, we begin the process of rewriting our narrative. The empathy we receive from our friends fuels our own capacity for empathy. And in turn, as we use our sharpened edge to help others, we forge even deeper and more meaningful connections. When you use the wisdom gained from your divorce to help a friend who is going through a similar experience, you are not only giving your pain a purpose, you are also cementing a bond of trust and understanding that is forged in the fire of shared experience. Service strengthens connection, and connection provides the safety needed to find the purpose in our pain. And all of this entire system of resilience, is directed and energized by your inner compass, your why. When your motivation to practice these skills flags, when you feel too tired to do your morning routine or too scared to have that vulnerable conversation, it is your why that pulls you forward. You do not just move your body for the sake of it. You move your body because your value of health is a core part of your legacy, and you want to have the energy to serve your family and community. You do not just let go of a grudge for the mental trick of it. You let go because your core value of peace is more important to you than the toxic satisfaction of being right. Your purpose is the engine. It is the reason you do the hard work of building and maintaining your unbreakable core. It infuses every other practice with meaning. Without a why, the how is just a collection of empty techniques. With a why, every small action becomes a sacred act of living a life of meaning. To see how this integrated system works in the real world, let us move beyond theory and into a story. Let's imagine a man named David. David is 45 years old. He is a loving husband and father, and for the past 15 years, he has poured his heart and soul into building a successful graphic design business. It is his passion, his craft, and the source of his family's security. He has read this book. He has done the exercises. He has his list of core values. He has started a meditation practice, and he has reconnected with a couple of old friends. He is doing the work. Then, the storm hits. A new, much larger competitor enters the market with technology that David cannot compete with, offering services at a fraction of the price. Within 6 months, David loses his 2 biggest clients. He is forced to lay off his small team. He burns through his savings trying to keep the business afloat. But the writing is on the wall. The business he spent a third of his life building is going to fail. Here is the old David, the David who existed before he started the work of forging his Obsidian Mind. The first crack appears, and his immediate reaction is panic and shame. He hides the severity of the problem from his wife, not wanting to worry her, but mostly not wanting to admit the magnitude of his failure. This is the myth of the lone wolf in action. He tells himself he needs to handle it alone. He works longer and longer hours, fueled by caffeine and anxiety. He stops exercising. He eats junk food at his desk. His sleep becomes a battlefield of racing thoughts and nightmarish financial projections. His physical foundation crumbles. He becomes irritable and distant with his family. He feels completely isolated. When he finally has to admit that the business is closing, he falls into a deep depression. His inner narrative is brutal and absolute. I am a failure. I have let everyone down. My best days are behind me. He clings to the past, replaying every decision, every mistake. He is filled with resentment towards the new competitor. He is terrified of the future. He is a ship without a rudder, tossed violently in the storm, taking on water fast. Now, let's watch the new David, the David who has been actively forging his unbreakable core. The storm hits just as hard. The external facts are the same, but his internal response is radically different. In the first moments of crisis, when he gets the email from his biggest client terminating their contract, he feels the same hot surge of panic. His heart pounds. But then, a new instinct kicks in. He remembers the stop method. He stops. He closes his laptop. He takes 3 deep, conscious breaths. He observes the chaos in his mind and the tightness in his chest without judgment. He is not the storm. He is the calm center watching the storm. Then he proceeds. His first conscious action is not to start frantically emailing or making panicked phone calls. Instead, he stands up from his desk and goes into the living room where his wife is reading. He sits down, takes her hand, and with a shaky voice, he chooses vulnerability over shame. He says, "I have some bad news, and I am scared. We just lost the Miller account." He initiates connection instead of isolation. His wife, seeing his courage, meets him on that bridge. They are in the storm together. That night, instead of stewing in his office, they go for a long walk. They talk. He has activated his tribe. In the following weeks, as the situation deteriorates, David leans heavily on his resilient toolkit. He knows his physical foundation is non-negotiable. He forces himself to keep his morning routine. Hydrate, move, breathe. Even if it is just a 10-minute walk and 3 minutes of meditation, he does it. He knows this is his armor for the day. He makes an effort to eat a healthy lunch with his wife instead of grabbing something at his desk. He enforces his digital sunset, knowing that sleep is his brain's most essential repair tool. These actions do not solve his business problem, but they create a state of physiological stability that allows him to face the problem with a clear head instead of a panicked, exhausted mind. He also does the hard mental work. He sits down with his journal and does a post-setback debrief. He separates the facts. The business is no longer financially viable from the catastrophic story. I am a total failure. He performs a brutal responsibility audit, identifying what was in his control and what was not. He cannot control the market or his competitors' actions, so he consciously practices letting go of his resentment towards them. He focuses on his own actions. He sees with painful clarity that he had become complacent, that he had not stayed on top of new technologies. This is not a reason for self-flagellation. It is the invaluable lesson he is harvesting from the failure. He reads his resilience archive, reminding himself of all the other challenges he has overcome in his life. This is a big storm, but he has been a capable captain before. The most profound shift, however, comes when he reconnects with his inner compass. He looks at his 5 core values: creativity, integrity, growth, family, and service. He has a painful but liberating realization. For years he had fused his identity with his business. But the business was never his why. The business was just a vehicle he had created to express his why. He loved his business because it allowed him to be creative, to deal with clients with integrity, to constantly learn and grow, to provide for his family, and to serve his clients by helping them build their brands. The vehicle is broken, but his why is still perfectly intact. This realization shatters his old story of failure and opens up a new world of possibility. The question changes from, how can I save my business? To, what is a new way I can live out my values? This is the moment he begins to forge his sharpened edge. He starts talking to other small business owners in his town and discovers that many of them are struggling with the same challenges of marketing and technology. His empathy, born of his own painful experience, allows him to connect with them on a deep level. He feels their struggle. He recognizes their pain. A new idea begins to form. He has 20 years of experience in design and branding. He has just received a brutal, first-hand education in the new market realities. This is his elixir. This is the wisdom he has brought back from the ordeal. His new purpose begins to emerge. He decides to start a small consultancy, a one-man operation, not to build a big company, but to serve these other small businesses. He can teach them, coach them, and help them navigate the very storm that sank his own ship. He is turning his pain into his purpose. The journey is not easy. There are days filled with doubt and fear. There are moments when the old narrative of failure tries to creep back in. But now, David has his tools. He has his anchor. He has his tribe. He has his compass. He is no longer defined by the storm, but by how he has chosen to navigate it. He did not just survive, he transformed. His new work is more fulfilling than his old business ever was, because it is more directly connected to his value of service. His relationship with his wife is deeper, because they navigated the crisis as a true team. He is a living example of an obsidian mind, not because he is unbreakable in the sense of being rigid and impervious, but because he has the capacity to be broken by life and to consciously reforge himself into something stronger, sharper, and more purposeful than he was before. This is what it means to live with an unbreakable core. It is an active, dynamic process. It is a commitment to a lifelong practice of awareness and conscious choice. It means accepting that life is a series of storms and calm seas, and that the goal is not to live in a permanent state of calm, but to become a master sailor. It means that when you feel the sting of a fresh setback, you have a new set of reflexes. Instead of collapsing into victimhood, you feel the familiar call to action. Anchor yourself in the now. Take care of your body. Reach out to your tribe. Find the lesson. Let go of the outcome. Reconnect with your purpose. This becomes your new default setting. This way of living moves you beyond mere resilience. The word resilience implies the ability to bounce back to your original shape after being stressed. That is a powerful and necessary skill. But the ultimate goal of the Obsidian Mind is to become what the writer Nassim Nicholas Taleb calls anti-fragile. The anti-fragile is the opposite of the fragile. The fragile breaks under stress. The resilient withstands stress. But the anti-fragile actually gets stronger from stress. Think of your muscles. When you lift a heavy weight, you are creating micro tears in the muscle fibers. You are damaging them. But in the process of repairing those tears, the muscle grows back stronger than before. It did not just resist the stress, it benefited from it. This is the essence of an obsidian mind. It is a mind that learns to treat stresses not as threats, but as information. Every setback, every failure, every painful experience is a form of resistance that, when you engage with it consciously, creates those micro tears in your psyche that will heal back stronger. You do this by actively seeking out appropriate challenges. You do not wait for the storm to hit. You practice on the small waves. You volunteer for the project at work that scares you a little. You have the difficult conversation you have been avoiding. You learn the new skill that feels intimidating. You consciously and regularly step outside your comfort zone. Each time you do this, you are lifting a weight. You are telling your nervous system, we can handle this stress, we can grow from it. You are proactively hardening your mind, so that when the truly great storms arrive, they are not a terrifying shock, but a larger version of a challenge you have been training for your entire life. Living with an unbreakable core means you are no longer at war with reality. You stop arguing with what is. You stop demand that life be easy or fair. You accept the world in all its chaotic, beautiful, and painful glory. And in that acceptance, you find a profound and unshakable peace. You are not fearless. You have simply befriended your fear. You know it is just a signal, a part of your ancient wiring, but it is no longer in the captain's seat. You are not perfect. You have simply embraced your imperfections as part of your unique story. The very cracks that let the light in. You are not invincible. You have simply discovered that your true strength lies not in avoiding the breaking, but in your infinite capacity to heal, to learn, and to grow. This is your birthright. This is the power that has been waiting within you all along. You are not just a survivor of the fire. You are the obsidian, forged within it, ready to share your unique and sharpened edge with the world. A final word. We have reached the end of these pages, but the real beginning is now. We began this journey together with the simple truth that the storms of life are unavoidable. We do not get to choose the weather, but we have learned step by step that we can become the architects of our own inner fortress, the captains of our own souls. The raw materials were always there, buried within the landscape of your own life. This book was simply a map to the quarry and a guide to the forge. The tools are now in your hands. The wisdom is now in your heart. The path forward is yours to walk. The work is not to build a life where you never feel pain or fear again. That is the path of illusion. The work is to build a life where you are no longer afraid of your pain or your fear. It is the quiet, daily practice of choosing courage over comfort, growth over stagnation, and connection over isolation. It is the commitment to show up for your own life in all its messy, unpredictable, beautiful glory. The journey to a hardened mind is not a destination you arrive at, but a direction you choose to face again and again, each and every morning. This conversation, this journey of discovery, does not need to end here. It is a path that is best walked with others. If the ideas we have explored together have resonated with you, and you wish to continue this practice as part of a community of fellow travelers, I invite you to join us. You can find more content like this and connect with others who are on the same path on the Audiowaves channel. New waves of inspiration are always on the horizon. Remember, you are stronger than you think. You have survived everything life has thrown at you so far. Within you is the fire of a volcano and the unbreakable core of the earth itself. The storms will come. Let them. You are ready.